Hey everyone, Lacey Johnson here, and you're listening to New to Retro Reviews podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome to yet another episode of the New to Retro Review podcast. Today, I am joined by a very special guest, Miss Lacey Johnson. Say hello.
Hello.
Thank you for joining me today. Greatly appreciate it.
Oh, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Tony.
Yeah. No, it's actually been a while since I've done any podcasting stuff. I just got so busy with life, and I just wanted to jump back in. And I was like, you know what, I gotta really just buckle down and get back to this and everything. And I was glad that you were able to respond and had time for this. So I do greatly appreciate it, because I know you've been traveling, been very busy lately.
Yeah, no, and it's been a very jump-started 2023 for me, and I'm extraordinarily grateful. And I think it was smarter to just get our interview going before something else in my life went crazy. So
Yeah, no, I mean, that was like when I was doing the podcast more heavily before, I ran into that problem with a lot of people. Some people were just super busy with work, and you think with some with the pandemic, when that happened, it would have been a lot easier to get some people. But some people that I was trying to work with, they were all just so busy because their jobs were so much more demanding, because they stayed at their jobs while everybody else left.
Yeah, exactly.
Or they just had crazy schedules, and they all thought I was I'd be mad at them. And I was like, hey, I'm understanding. It's not an easy world to live in these days. If you can't do it, you can't do it, you know?
Yep.
And they were all super thankful for that. And again, I'm thankful that you were able to make the time for me. So I greatly appreciate that today.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
Happy to.
yeah, I guess we'll just jump right into the questions as you've got them in front of them. And the first one is pretty much just, because you're not just a musician, you're a gamer. So
I'm a gamer.
Yeah. How did you get into gaming in the first place?
The quickest answer to that, I think, is my best friend when I was growing up had just gotten a Game Boy, and I was very perplexed because I had not seen this kind of thing before, and he got Pokemon. And so I became obsessed with Pokemon, and I begged and cried for my parents to get me a Game Boy so I could play Pokemon. And I just loved it, and I spent every ounce of my free time playing it. And then my parents got me a N64 for Christmas that next year. And it all kind of just spiraled from there, because, again, Pokemon was just the original everything. And so since there was Pokemon Stadium on Nintendo 64, I wanted it, and it just became, the catalyst for everything else. But I always have been playing PC games and kind of just, the Disney games that we all grew up with. But yeah, I would say Pokemon and the Game Boy was really the start of everything for me back in the 90s.
Nice. So was it the original red and blue?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I liked blue version. He got red, so I wanted the other one.
Yeah, those were amazing games when you really think about it. These such a an amazing feat of engineering to be on a little cartridge like that, to get all that RPG element that you get in Super Nintendo games, and you see it in Game Boy form, and you're like, how the hell did they fit everything? I mean, you look back at it now, it looks like it's a bit dated, but that's kind of the charm of it, I feel. And it just the hours of entertainment that came from that game back then, it took the world by storm. And then you said you got Pokemon Stadium, and you could connect your Game Boy game to that and play it on your TV.
Yep. Oh, yeah. And I could literally play with my Pokemon that I loved and cherished so much and have them on my television. And it was the coolest thing. It really was a mind-blowing thing for me. And I already was so obsessed with animals anyway as a little kid. So the fact that I had these even cuter animals, or even cooler looking animals that I could name, and I could make them do stuff with me, and I made them fight for me, just as a little kid, it was really awesome, just because it definitely was a great way for me to enjoy my time and to learn strategy. And the fact that my friend and I could play together was really great. Yeah, I owe a lot to Pokemon, honestly.
Yeah, and I feel a lot of us do. Pokemon was just one of those big game changers back then, and it made its way into pop culture. I mean, it made its way into other games, crossovers, and Smash Brothers and everything. So Pokemon, I think everybody owes a little. Any gamer probably owes owes a little bit of Pokemon to like
Mhm.
who they are, like especially if they were like
Yep.
Nintendo fans. But I remember
Oh,
like a
yeah.
lot of people back in the day who weren't like Nintendo fans, they were more like Sega fans, but they all like
Mhm.
were begging their parents for Christmas, like, no, I gotta get this. Everybody at school, it's got these
Yeah.
games, and like they're all playing together. They're actually fighting each other. That's not
Yeah.
on another TV. It's on another Game Boy. Can we get this? And it was like,
Yeah.
it was really amazing to see like like such a shock, because I think for me personally, like that was the third biggest kind of like shock of like the must-have thing from like my childhood personally, because like
Mhm.
the first one was TMNT, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That
Oh,
was
sure.
that
Yeah.
was the big one. Power
Yep.
Rangers was the next one,
Yep.
and then because
Yep.
that was another one that took the world by storm. And then a couple
Yep.
years later we got Pokemon, and that just like blew up more than like anything else. I feel at that time.
God, the 90s really popped off. Late 80s, early 90s really popped off, now that I'm thinking about it.
You're not wrong. I mean, you look at like all the cartoons that came out of the 80s, and then like even like some of like the 90s ones, like a
Yeah.
lot of the 90s shows that were big
Yep.
at the time, like like SWAT Cats, Street Sharks, Biker Mice from Mars, which that's getting a revival. I saw
Is it really?
Yeah, I saw it on Twitter a couple days ago. I was like, I mean, like I was like, wow, I kind of figured Street Sharks would get one before them, but like that's great, because that was a good show. I loved that when I was a kid.
God, I haven't thought about that in years.
No, I mean, that's what this channel is here. It's all
I
about
love
like
that.
nostalgia. It's not just about new
I
games.
love that.
The retro love is here. And
Well, damn, success.
Yeah, I
Mission
mean, like-
success.
I don't know, like maybe because like I'm 35 now, so I'm kind of
Hmm.
like I kind of start thinking back on a lot of like the old things, like what we had as kids, like versus like what a
Mhm.
lot of kids have these days now, and like the comparison type of stuff. And then you start remembering shows you hadn't thought of in the longest time, and
Yep.
it's just like, man, like we did like a lot of these shows went hard back in the day and didn't have
Oh, yeah.
to,
Yep.
So
No.
like the 90s was a really big era for like animation and gaming too.
Mhm.
Like gaming just took off mainly in the 90s for the most part.
Oh, yeah. No, definitely.
Yeah. So I mean, like speaking of games, like the next question would be, like what are your like some of your favorite games and your systems and some of your favorite game companies that like you've just come to love over the years?
All right. All right. So, so the biggest love of my life is Final Fantasy. I have the Final Fantasy X Jex sigil tattoo on my arm.
Yep.
I have like the Buster Sword on my side. I love Final Fantasy so much. And like it is I tell this story all the time, so I apologize if listeners you've heard me tell this story, but when I was a little kid and I was in piano lessons, I hated it. I was in classical piano and it was just making me miserable. But I heard the opening to Final Fantasy X because it was right about that time when the game came out that I was in piano lessons. And the opening score is a beautiful piano solo piece.
Oh my God, is it
And-
ever? Oh God.
Yeah. And so it changed my life. That song was the first time I had ever heard something from a video game that was, in my opinion, like as beautiful as the classical pieces that I was being forced to play. But it was from, source material that I really enjoyed and I was passionate about. And so I like begged my piano teacher to teach it to me. And she said no, but she'd help me like figure out the notes so I could work on it myself.
Hmm.
So that's what I did. And that was honestly like where my entire life changed because I wanted to quit. I like wanted to give up. I wasn't feeling like I was good at music. It wasn't what I wanted. And then the moment I was able to work through music that I loved and I was able to kind of put myself in a position of doing it for myself and not for anyone else, I fell in love with music and I fell in love with the piano and it completely changed my whole world. So I got the symbol tattooed on my arm so I could see it when I play the piano to remind me of that time when I really was going to throw everything away and I didn't. So I mean, the game also itself is like my love in life. My first email was Titus Lover 1. Like I love Final Fantasy X. Like it was just like putting myself on blast, teenage Lacey on blast. But like, it was a game that really changed my whole perspective. And then I went backwards and started playing the rest of them. And I've been working on getting through the Pixel remasters. I've been enjoying those a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But Final Fantasy is just it for me. It's like right up there with like, for me, just my favorite thing ever. And to that end as well, like the PlayStation 2 was definitely one of the consoles I'd say I played the most and consumed the most. It was definitely the era that I really fell in love with gaming. I love Final Fantasy X. I love the Dark Cloud series. I loved SSX Tricky. I know that's such an odd one to throw in there with all my RPG, but I fucking love that game. I don't know if we could swear, but anyway, I love that game.
Swear you want.
Okay, cool. But like any and every game that came out for PS2, I was at Blockbuster every Friday night to go rent a game and play it and do my best to beat it by Monday because it was always only a 2-day rental.
Yep.
And so like it was really cool. Like for me, the PS2 is the console that I was kind of just left to my own devices, and I could, I had my own Blockbuster card and I could go figure all that out. And as we discussed earlier, the Game Boy, all of the iterations of the Game Boy, I consumed like a crazy person. But yeah, I would say like pretty much any RPG, JRPGs, are just what I will still pick up today if I had a choice to play something. The Kingdom Hearts franchise, I love so much. I love the Persona series. And if you follow my content that I make, that's very obvious, but I really love the Persona series.
No, like Persona's got like, I mean, I'm not like big into the Persona games. I love the fighting game they made a couple years ago, like on the 360 and PS3.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
I was like, man, like I don't really know Persona, but I want to play this because it's a fighting game, and I really did enjoy my time with it. Like I really did enjoy that because I mean, my big thing for me personally is fighting games. That's like my genre and everything. But, but RPGs are something really phenomenal and fantastic. Like I always. Like, because I play like a little bit of everything, and I don't play as much like newer RPGs. Even though like I want to give a lot of the new ones, like Octopath Traveler, I want to give that a shot.
Yeah, I haven't tried that one yet.
Yeah,
I gotta get on
just
that one.
the graphics in that game just like it gives that old school vibe that you don't get a lot these days.
Yep. Totally agree.
Yeah, I love that stuff. But yeah, like Final Fantasy X, like talk about a game to get you motivated to do anything in life. Because I feel there was like multiple stages like for Final Fantasy fans. Like you were probably like like a Final Fantasy fan on the Super Nintendo maybe, or if you weren't, you definitely were by the PlayStation because Final Fantasy VII. For me personally, my favorite Final Fantasy is Final Fantasy Tactics.
Sure.
Yeah, everybody thinks it's either 7 or 10, but for me, like I borrowed it from my cousin. No, I saw my cousin playing it one time, and then I went and rented it and just fell in love with the game. You could name yourself the main character. I could create my friends into the game, you know, so I had like all my best friends joining me in fights, and I created like my own stories through that. And, like, it was just and it just actually celebrated its 25th anniversary the other day. And I was just like, like, that is so cool. I'm so old.
I know.
But like,
I know
RPGs have that beauty to them, and I think Final Fantasy X, because of it being graphically amazing compared to the games that came before it had voice acting. Its story was amazing. Its characters were unbelievably phenomenal. I'm actually trying to like stop myself from purchasing like a $400 Lulu statue right now because that
I'm sorry, I'm enabling you.
Oh my god. I put it on Twitter, and I was like, I know I shouldn't. And then all my collector friends and all my followers were like, nope, you got to do it. You got to do it. Thankfully, I could do payment options on it, which is great. So I don't have to drop $400 on it. But
there you go.
But it's just like,
God
damn, man. Like, I mean, like, because they make no merch of her. Like,
I know.
She's my favorite character in that game.
She's so good.
She's like one of my favorite Final Fantasy characters of all time, like right next to Sid from Final Fantasy VII.
Hell yeah.
And like, they just make no merch of her. So it's one of those things that like I feel like I can justify buying it because there's nothing of her.
Yep. As Final Fantasy fans in general, we are tremendously underrepresented with merchandise ever. And the only thing I was just ranting to a friend about this weekend. The only thing we ever get are like solid gold or gold-plated statues of Tonberries, which I love Tonberry, but I'm like, there's other things in Final Fantasy than just the monsters. I don't know why we only get like what was it, like a $20,000 Final Fantasy VI statue or whatever that they announced a few months ago.
Yeah, my friend was considering buying that. I'm like, if you buy that, I will murder you. Like that is too much, dude. Like I know, like, and she's a huge Final Fantasy fan. Like her whole house is filled with statues and PlayArts Kai figures and everything from the years. And I'm the same way. Like, I mean, like, but that's just too much.
Yeah, it's excessive.
Yeah,
It's big too.
Yeah, it's huge. I'm like, where are you going to even fit
huge.
that? You already have
know.
giant statues. You've got like Chrono Cross figures and statues that nobody else even has that are huge. Like, calm down, dude. You don't need this. Trust me. And she's like, I know, but I really want it. And I was like, dude, you don't need it.
We all want things, okay?
It's like that's the thing. Like when you see something like you really want, but it's like, can I justify it? You know, like I've given up a lot of like, because like Player Sky figures got expensive at one point. I'm sure you've seen that.
Yeah, they did. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, like, I guess the Zack one that just came out, they announced the new Zack one, and he's like $180 or something like that. And after shipping, that's gonna be almost 200.
200 something.
Yeah. And I'm just like, I love the character, man, but I can't justify spending that much on a figure like that. I don't know. If it's $200, I'd rather it be a statue. So at least I know like I could take it out of its thing. Its joints aren't going to loosen up or anything like that. It's going to stay a statue.
Yeah. And it's not going to get tiny little bits of dust in like the joint crevice too.
Yeah. Like, I mean, that's
I
like,
also deal with that.
Yeah. Like I've got a lot of like figures like over here I have not opened and I was just like, I'm going to just keep them like this until, I don't know, maybe I have to sell them one day or just keep them in general. I mean, like I got like, well, I can't see it up here, but I got like a lot of Street Fighter ones up here on the top of the shelf. And I've got,
hell yeah.
I got Sid, the Advent Children one. I was so happy they gave him one, but I'm like, Advent Children Sid's okay. I don't mind the outfit as much, but I like the OG Sid.
Yeah,
everything.
Of course.
Like I told one of my friends who's a huge collector, I told her, I was like, if they make a Sid figure very soon and he comes with like a tea table and like an actual teacup, I will buy. I don't care if it's $200, I will buy that. Everybody just wants that goddamn tea.
I know. I'm so excited for how they handle Sid in the part 2 as well this year.
Like I feel that's gonna like just blow us out of the water. I think so, because I don't have any. I don't know about you, but I don't have any problems with how they've handled the Final Fantasy VII characters so far.
I'm for it.
Yep. I think that change is good. And like the thing of it is, a lot of people like hate the story because it's changing the original. It's like, no, it's not. It's just it's a different timeline.
Yeah, and here's the thing. We've all played Final Fantasy VII several times in so many different iterations. And like, if you're like me and obsessive, you've played Dirge of Cerberus, you've played Crisis Core to death. It's like, there's so many different storylines and there's movies to kind of handle all different alternate endings. Why not have the game also get more creative? I'm for it. I think it's a lot more exciting and refreshing.
Yeah, I mean, I understand like some remakes, like you don't have to change, but it's like the Dead Space remake just came out, and that game is actually phenomenal because they followed the original to the T. And like Resident Evil did this like 20-something years ago with the remake on GameCube. It's just the first game with a new coat of paint and some new rooms thrown in and like new enemies, and nothing about the original was changed much, and they added to the story to it too. So it's like, if they're gonna change stuff in here, it's a good thing to do that. And I'm kind of, we're all interested. It's like, is Aerith going to live this time? Like, what's going to happen?
God, I don't know. My friend, so I have a friend who's playing through it and he's never played 7. He doesn't have the storyline spoiled at all. And so he has no idea. And I haven't said anything, obviously, because I don't want to be that friend. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, my poor boy. He just doesn't know. He doesn't know.
Does he actually really like Aerith too?
Yeah.
Oh, no. No.
I asked him. I remember asking him after he finished part 1 because I said, the minute you finish, let's get coffee and let's talk about it. And so he said, oh my God, Aerith's just my favorite character. She's so cool. Like, she's funny. She's awesome. I just love her. I'm like, yeah, okay. Good. I'm glad. That's great. She's awesome. Very good. Okay. Like, panic.
Oh, he's not ready.
He's not ready.
Oh,
my poor lad.
Like that, and that's like one of like the biggest upsets in gaming of all time. So the fact that he doesn't know is really interesting. Like you don't.
I know.
Like I know there's so many like gamers out there that never played Final Fantasy VII, but understand the importance of the game and certain scenes that happened. And everything. So hopefully your friend doesn't see this podcast before they finish.
No, I'll tell him not to listen until he finishes the game.
Oh, okay, all right, good. Yeah, I don't want him to like. I want like.
Nah.
You gotta like. I mean, he's gotta like record his like thing. It's like, yeah, when you get to this part right here, you gotta record it. It's one of the best parts in the game. I want to see your reaction. Just completely trick him. Just completely trick him.
Set him up like that, he'll die. Oh no!
Oh, it's so great. Yeah, like you said, you like JRPG. Did you ever play Capcom's Breath of Fire series?
I never did. No, I've thought about getting into it though. I've had a few of my friends tell me that I would like it.
It is literally a franchise. It's if I had to say, I think Breath of Fire 3 is my favorite RPG of all time.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, because its story is kind of different than like your normal like like world of magic and sorcery and monsters. Like there's like a whole quest to find out certain things about these characters and like what the main character goes through and why certain events unfolded. And it's a very different type of way that the main enemy kind of unfolds itself. It's not really even an evil villain. Like they don't think they're the villain in their eyes type situation. And
interesting.
yeah, it's a very, and like the combat's really great and the sprite work, because it's like it's all sprite work, because this came out I think like a year before Final Fantasy 7 did on the PlayStation.
Okay.
But it's still used sprite based work, and it's some of Capcom's best sprite work and some of the Capcom's best music. Like if anything, you're gonna love the music in this.
Okay, you've made the sale. I'm in.
I mean, if you've got a Switch and you want to try the original 2 games, they do have them on the Super Nintendo.
On the emulator thing.
Yeah, the free games that they give you and all that stuff. 1 and 2 on that. 1's a bit dated. It's tough to play. 2's a lot of fun. I did enjoy that. But 3 is locked to the PlayStation 3. I mean, you can do, emulation and everything. So, that's like the best way to play it.
Who would do that? Who would play?
Yeah,
who
no,
would
you don't do
emulators?
emulation. I mean, technically, if you did want to, you could actually get the PSP version, because if you still got a PSP.
Oh yeah, I still do. Yeah.
Because when I found out that game was coming to, like we got a physical version of it, I was like, I'm sold. Like I already had my PSP at the time, but that was just more of a reason for me to keep playing it, was because of that game. I mean, because I don't think they did. I don't think the PS3 ever did a PS1 classic of Breath of Fire 3 in America. I don't think. I'm not 100% sure.
That sounds right.
I'm not 100% sure, which is strange, because again, it's like one of like the best RPGs I've ever played in my life. It's like I said, my personal favorite.
Wow,
it's like right up there with like Super Mario RPG and Final Fantasy Tactics.
Damn. Okay. Well, that is quite the statement.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to check this out.
I speak very highly of that game for the love that I have for it. It's just a very well narrated game. The characters are just kind of amazing, and like the only problem with the game is though that there's this thing that I hated this concept in the game. If you die or something like tragic happens to your character in it, you come back, but your HP is kind of like knocked down a bit and it's in the yellow. And if you don't find a place to go rest properly, your HP apparently will get stuck.
Oh no!
Forever. Yeah, so like you could have this character later on in the game, and they still have 50 HP, and every enemy one-offs them.
Oh my god, what a nightmare!
Yeah, it's thankfully it's not that bad, because you do have a decent amount of time to find a place to rest or do what you need to do. But it was one of those things that for me, I was just like, oh man, that's kind of a bummer. Like that was like one of the few things I did not like about that game. And again, graphics wise, you just get blown away, and the music too.
Oh, again.
So hopefully
it's on my list now.
Yeah, no. Hopefully when you get to play it, I do hope that you really enjoy it. It's such a good game.
Okay.
Cool. But we can move on. So like third question is, I guess we got here. Like what do you prefer mainly, like newer games or the retro games? Like there's a lot of like ups and downs with both sides I get from a lot of people. But like what's your personal thing that you enjoy most?
Well, it's funny because if I even am looking at like what's on my Switch even right now, so most times lately, if I sit down to play, which granted, I am a gamer by definition. However, my free time is incredibly limited. So I don't have a ton of time to dedicate to games right now. But when I do sit down to play something, usually it's like the Persona 3 or 4 remaster, or it's Final Fantasy X for the 80th time, or it's I do love the new Pokemon though. I played that to death, completed it, 100%ed it.
Oh wow.
Love that game. But again, knowing my history, it's not surprising. But like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not at all opposed to modern games. I do like that there is kind of, there's been a big resurgence of rebuilt, reimagined, remastering. I'm for it, honestly, because there are so many games that I love that I have played a million times, like Final Fantasy VII. And I do enjoy that we're getting a little more creative. I'm also a huge fan of Resident Evil. So like the Resident Evil remasters and remakes have been so great. I've been enjoying them so much. But Resident Evil 8 is my favorite that I've played. So it's like it's interesting how I feel like we're in this age right now where with established franchises, we're getting really, really good new entries. I haven't played Fire Emblem Engage yet, but I played the hell out of Fire Emblem Three Houses. Loved it. Um, you know, it's like there's so many new entries in these franchises that are so good and so strong. And it's from a graphic standpoint, I'm just such a sucker for really nice graphics. Elden Ring is one of my favorite games in a long time. Like, it's great. I love all the new stuff that's coming out.
Yeah, like that's a. I mean, like I'm the same way. Like I've been leaning more towards retro stuff because I've been kind of getting burned personally with a lot of newer games where they promise a lot of stuff and it comes out and they're either half-assed or they want, it's like, oh yeah, here's a $70 game. By the way, we're gonna give you story DLC next year, and we're gonna
that I hate so much.
And like I feel that a lot of games are coming out incomplete, and companies have like this weird mentality of like, well, we're established, so we can screw up and people are still gonna buy our stuff.
It's like, no.
Yeah, like, no. I mean, Nintendo and I have burned a lot of bridges. Like, I don't like how they've handled a lot of things that they've done in these last few years, especially, like, after Satoru Iwata passed away. I told my friends, I was like, you watch, everything this man stood for is going to go right out the window for greed.
Yep.
And
it is.
Yeah, it has in many ways. Yep. Like, I've been very critical on how they think. I mean, granted, yes, they gave me, Bayonetta 2 and 3. I can't fault them for that. I love my witch wife, but
same here.
Like, she's an amazing character, and like actually, I met one of my best friends because we were at New York Comic Con like 2012, and we just I was Dante from Devil May Cry 4, and she was Bayonetta, and I saw this crowd of people around somebody. So I broke through the crowd and I saw her there, and she was Bayonetta. So I jumped in, whole crowd's going nuts, and then we just became friends with that. And funny enough, two Boston people met in New York.
I love it.
And like we only lived like 40 minutes away from each other. So
oh wow, my god.
Yeah, so it's like, we love a lot of these characters that companies do, but like I'm also like Capcom's my favorite company of all time.
Fair,
and
valid.
I love what they've done for years, but there was that time where I was very critical on how they handled their games and their properties and what they did, because I'm a fan. Like, I want to support them. I don't want crap. Nobody does. No.
Yeah.
And like that was like my problem with like a lot of games during like that like early 2010 era was like, on disc DLC or day one DLC that you had to buy. And that's like why I just kept gravitating back towards retro games, because I'm not going to say all retro games were great and they were like fully completed, because like, some games you got that were just, I mean, a lot of NES games were busted as hell. I mean, the angry video game nerds made a career on broken games that were never finished. But, I think there is like a balance that a lot of us find these days that, there's a lot of good in the new games, and some of the older ones we just prefer a little bit more.
Yeah, and usually there's a reason for it too.
Yeah.
Whether it be complete, whether it be the lack of a money grab, whether it be replayability. Like, I feel like there's plenty of value in those older games to where they do incentivize you. Play it 10 times, like just like Octopath Traveler, like we were talking about, is taking that value from retro games where you literally need to replay it like several times to get the endings. You need to replay it near replicant like a million times to get all of the true endings. And like, I feel a lot of times nowadays, because of the crunch, because of the pressure, it's like we're losing those values of creating good games from the get-go. We're relying on DLC to fix mistakes and to hear feedback and then no, it's like, have the good idea to start, take longer and ship it out. But I'm not in game development, so I guess I can't speak too highly on that.
I mean, we might not be in game development, but I've known people who've been in the industry for years, and it is true. It's like, if you don't want to rush a game, that's great, because if you rush a game, you're gonna make everybody one of the best examples I can give, like the Callisto Protocol that came out recently.
Oh yeah, my god,
that disappointed many people.
Yeah.
I wasn't really hyped for it because like that kind of style of games, like, I mean, as much as I love Resident Evil and some other horror games, like Dead Space was never really my thing, and this game wasn't either. But I felt bad for those who were super amped for this, because it felt like an incomplete game. And that's one of the things that just kind of bothers me these days. They rather make a quick buck, and they change, like, like look what Call of Duty's become. All microtransactions and so many issues. Like, I don't remember which the Call of Duty. I think it was just like Call of Duty World War II or whatever it was, like the one that came out like on the PS4 a while back, and Vanguard as well. Like those ones didn't do well in eyes of fans because it was all rushed, nickel and dime to death. And I think these yearly releases kind of put that crunch, because didn't like the newest Pokemon game that didn't the last one come out not even a full year before the new one came out?
Something about because I guess it's hard because they had Arceus, which was considered kind of a side game but not really. But yeah, Sword and Shield came out less than 2 years ago, which is crazy to think about it when you see like the release dates. It's like, oh yeah, they crunched, didn't they? Like, oh boy. And granted, the Pokemon game has issues. I will not defend. There are very inexcusable graphical glitches. Arceus had them too. I don't want people to pretend that game was perfect. It had problems too. But like what this Pokemon game delivered on for me, which was unique, especially for Pokemon, as you know, I've been a fan since the beginning. It had a story, and it was a good story, and it was fleshed out, and it was complete. And I was shocked because everyone's talking about a DLC, and I'm like, did you guys not finish the game? Like, the game is very good. I don't think it needs an extension. Like, I'm for it, and I'll probably consume it because more Pokemon, but still, like, it's refreshing to actually play a franchise that is so established, and, Pokemon fans will love it and complain no matter what. But I think it's nice actually for them to give something that I thought was so thought out, even through that really quick time crunch. And I wish it didn't have as many technical problems. I would have happily waited another half a year or even a year for it to be smoother. But it's hard. It's hard to see AAA kind of become such a money grab, and we all feel it. That's the thing. I don't think anyone's immune to it. We're all like, come on. Like we can see it, and they're charging more for games, and the employees are stressed. There's just constant negativity on the internet and whatever forums you're in. You see it. We all see it, whether we think it or not. We see the conversations.
Oh yeah.
And I don't really know what could change to bring back more of the spirit of the art itself, the art form. I guess just because it's become such a business, but
yeah, I mean that's the thing, because like gaming is now the most popular form of entertainment on the planet. It outbeats everything else: reading, TV, movies, music, and all that. So I get it, and like gaming takes a lot more to develop in this day and age. Like
that's true.
It does take a lot more to develop, but that's all the more reason why you need to take your time and not release these broken games. Just because you can patch a game later on doesn't mean you're not going to hurt your sales now, because this is the internet we're talking about. If Twitter gets wind of a game coming out that's broken and you can't do certain things, the game will be completely destroyed and nobody will want to play it. I mean, sometimes you get like the like negativity that helps you push your game, like when The Last of Us Part 2 came out. There's a lot of negativity on how that game was handled and what they did and character-wise. And even I agree there was a lot of stupid shit that they did in that game that did not make sense. But I feel that, at the end of the day, you can't rush these. And I've been noticing this too. Like a lot of smaller devs are like, I think smaller devs kind of do what AAA devs used to do back in the 90s and early 2000s. Like they give a damn. They give a damn about what they're doing. And it's not just about making a profit, because this is like what I always say about why I love the console wars of, the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. Companies competed against each other, not just so that they could win, but that they could keep their fans happy and coming back for more. I mean, like, I know the N64 had a rough run, but you look at everything that came out, like GoldenEye, Diddy Kong Racing, Mario Kart, Smash Brothers, 3 Mario Party games, Yoshi's Story. Like there was
Pokemon Stadium,
Pokemon Snap.
Hey You Pikachu.
Oh my God, Hey You Pikachu.
That was my favorite.
That thing, I still love the fact that got its own console.
Oh, I love it.
Like that.
I'm glad.
But like that's the thing. Like companies back then really tried. And
they did.
they at one point just got these egos where like they stopped trying in many
Yeah.
ways. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, the 360 killed it during its time because it had to. Not that I still love the original Xbox out of all the iterations. The original one took so many chances and did so many great things back in the day. But now these companies aren't like that, and these up and coming ones. Like I reviewed a game that I got last year called Final Vendetta, and it's like Streets of Rage. It's a beat 'em up.
Oh hell yeah!
And there was so much love. They and like one point you're walking through a club beating people up, and the posters on the wall, like there's a legit Steven Seagal poster digitized into the game. Like it's the Out for Justice one. There's Bruce Lee's The Big Boss. Like there was,
oh my god.
and I'm like, these guys care. And then like I reviewed there's like another game. What was it, like Ruby Arrowfell? Like it wasn't the greatest game, but there was a lot of love put into that to make you like happy that you're in the world of Ruby. And what was it, The Messenger, Shovel Knight?
Oh, The Messenger, so fantastic,
right? Like those are the games
even
that are made by smaller devs that are trying to prove themselves and make people relive that nostalgia.
Yeah, well, I mean, you even look at games like River City Girls is a great example. Like that game is, I have a fun anecdote about it, but it's like, it's a small team.
Yep.
It's Megan McDuffie, genius composer on the music.
Mm-hmm.
And they had Mega Ran in the game because he did a song with it, which is so fun. But like their team is so on it. I remember the first time I got connected with them was I was streaming the first River City Girls with my friend. We were just playing on Twitch. And 3 of the devs came into our chat and were asking us how we were liking the game. Did they need, could they offer any tips or anything like that? It was so cool because here I am, I was just having fun with my friend and we were playing and they genuinely wanted our opinion and our feedback. And I went, this is why so many indie games are so good, because they're hearing it. They have the ability to make the change. They care. Like you said, they give a damn.
Yeah.
And you really feel it with these developers. And I've been wanting to consume more indie games because genuinely I play them and I'm like, oh wow, this feels good. This doesn't feel soulless. This doesn't feel like I just dedicated 100 hours for nothing. It's like, this is nice.
Yeah, you do. Like you literally just feel so much love from these things. And River City Girls, that was Way Forward that did that too.
Yeah.
I mean, they're Way Forward. Like they are so freaking underrated. Like I remember when Capcom was not making Mega Man games, and I tweeted it, like I was just like, can we just get Way Forward to work on this, please? Can we have them make a Mega Man game? And
because they'll do it, and they'll do it right.
Well, that was the crazy thing. They saw that tweet. I didn't tag them. They saw the tweet, and they're like, that would be a dream for us. And this was after they had already done DuckTales Remastered.
Oh, fantastic!
And that game. The final time we got the entire original cast for DuckTales from the 80s to voice those characters. And that game was absolutely beautiful.
10 out of 10.
And like they're hungry. They want to do this stuff. And I'm glad, Capcom gave us another Mega Man game recently, like what was it, like 2 years ago, Mega Man 11 came out, and I'm glad that happened. I'm glad they remembered that he's in the basement, like put some batteries in him and let's go. Like I love Mega Man. I love the X series the most, but like overall, like it's a flagship, and it's great to see, because Capcom dug their way out, they got back to where they are, but a lot of AAA games they're not doing it, and that's why we got to depend on the indie games. Because I wasn't a fan of indie games at first myself, because a lot of them were just like copying stuff that already existed.
Right,
and,
exactly.
People are like, well, that's been in gaming, for years. Look at Sonic and Mario; they're kind of platformers. And I was like, yeah, but there was enough difference between them. A lot of these things, they're using that 8-bit pixel style, and there's really nothing else to these games. And I wanted these devs to find their identity, and they have. Like, there's so many out there now that are just making games that just blow your mind. And I'm very thankful for them not giving up and keep pursuing in a really tough industry.
Yeah, it's very refreshing. Indie devs, if you're ever listening, we love you. Keep fighting the good fight. We respect you.
Yeah, and keep going to conventions to push your stuff, man. Like go to PAX, go to the smaller ones. Like I love when they come to Boston and like PAX East. I love when those guys come, because I mean it's mainly an indie game con now, because obviously like Capcom, Nintendo, a lot of them don't come to those anymore. But it's really amazing to see like these guys that are passionate booths. Because I've been at some like big time booths before, like from big AAA developers, and the people running it, like you just didn't buy what they were selling you.
No,
But
they're just booth babes.
Yeah.
They're just there to push whatever it is, and they don't really care.
yeah. And like, but like the indie devs and everything like that, they like really like were into it. Like they really believed at what they were saying. Because I'm pretty good at like picking up on and reading people. So I was just like, yeah, no, they're legit. They want to succeed. And I mean, nobody wants to fail. We don't get into, they don't get into this business to fail.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, so moving on to the next one. This is like move off of some of the gaming stuff and onto the, I guess, the meat and potatoes. But like, what brought you into music in general? Like, what was like the influences? Like, what was the day you were just like, I want to do this?
All right, so I can clearly trace this to when I was in high school, because I had been doing music outside of school full time since I was like 11. And so I was doing full music school after my normal school. And I really liked it. My teacher said I was good, but I was like, that's fine. I really wanted to be a doctor. And so I was full on pursuing that. I was taking extra classes in high school to be a doctor. And when I went to my first dissection in an anatomy class I was taking, I borderline passed out and went, maybe I should reconsider my plans. Literally, it was that day I went, well, I'm pretty good at music. I guess I'll go to school for that. So I went to college for music, and I got a degree in music industry studies, which was a full business degree and an arts degree. So I have a full business background. I worked in the music business. I was a studio musician straight out of college. And I was in bands and kind of just teaching and doing whatever I could so that I was doing music full time. Because I didn't really care what I was doing as long as it was music. And eventually I realized that I was 26 and I was working like 50, 60 hours a week, not doing one thing for myself. And that just felt so wrong for me with my music, since it was such a personal thing for me anyway. So I started a YouTube channel. And I kind of just did it with the purpose of making music for myself. It really was just pop music covers. It wasn't even gaming covers at first. It took a couple years for me to get down the Super Mario Odyssey cover rabbit hole. But once I did that, then people really started liking it. That cover blew up. And a friend of mine worked for a content creator at the time, and he had me come over to their production studio, and we chatted, and he said, well, if you like video game music, you should just dedicate your channel to that. And so I just went, okay. So then from that point on, I just started doing video game music covers on my channel, whatever style I felt like doing. And for me, just rock has always been kind of the music style that I incline towards. I'm a guitar player, so it was not a big stretch to kind of just have things translated into a rock style. I got the keytar when I was in a band, and I needed a keytar, ironically, and I'd wanted one since I was 13 years old, so it was a dream come true to finally just pull the trigger and do that. And then literally just combining the keytar with my already existing rock foundation is how we got here today, which is, kind of a roundabout way of doing it. But yeah, that's pretty much kind of where and how we got here, which is wild, because obviously there's a lot more to it than that. But I think the years have been super educational in teaching me what kind of music I like and want to make, because I've played in everything, and I still do. I'm still a professional musician outside of YouTube. I play with different people and genres a lot, and I realized, I was like, well, the kind of stuff I like, though, is kind of like that hard rock. Like, I was raised on like Joan Jett and really hard rockers that I respect and still love and want to, flip my head upside down and do all that kind of stuff. So, so I've kind of created a space for myself within video game music in which I can be myself and be very expressive and hard and aggressive, but still feminine and kind of just enjoying myself. It's awesome because the VGM community, the video game music community, is so inclusive, and people are super into it. They love that I love to scream and headbang and do all that. They're like, hell yeah, let's go. That's so cool. So it's great. I love where I'm at. I love the people who love the music that I love. So it's just a big love fest wherever I go. It's awesome.
No, that's great because there's a lot of communities out there that they're not as welcoming. I mean,
Yeah.
like my background for photography mainly is I just fell into the world of cosplay years and years ago. I've been going to cons for 20 years. And then I started doing I started doing photography back in 2008, 2009. I started bringing my camera to cons, and you just find there's a lot of cliquey people. There's a lot of people photographers don't want to work with you because they're like, oh, you're gonna steal my clients and stuff.
Exactly.
And, but I've heard that about the video game community is that a lot of the times you they barely run into any drama. It's just everybody wants to help someone get somewhere. Or get together and collab and work on videos together, and I love that. I love that camaraderie that has, because for me and my team, we're big with Resident Evil, and we got to know a lot of the other Resident Evil content creators on YouTube, which I didn't think was going to be possible because I thought people were going to be super territorial or something,
Sure.
and but that's the thing, we wanted to not be that to be, we wanted to be friends with everybody, and we did. We in 2021, we all flew out to Vegas and we went to go see that horrible Welcome to Raccoon City movie. But it was great. It was the first time all these communities came together, and it was an amazing time that we all had. And it's and that's that camaraderie is hard to find. And I'm glad that the video game community is like that, because I see so many YouTubers that do music that I followed for years, and I just see them move out to California, start teaming up with this person and that person, and seeing this, that, and they're teaming up with bigger names. They're teaming up with people who might not have a large following, and I'm like, that's great, man.
Yep.
That's really cool that they do that.
Yeah, the spirit of it, honestly, as I've gotten to know more of us in the scene in person, it's very much on the principle you get what you give. A lot of people are so open, and so many people just get lucky, and that's why. I mean, they're good at what they do, and their skills and praise are warranted, but sometimes you just get a shot, and that's what gets you somewhere, and I think all of us recognize that someone took a chance on us. Someone said yes to me once, so I'm going to say yes to someone another time. It's very much a pay it forward, an inclusive kind of space. And I found, because I have met, and I won't say it's all sunshine and rainbows, I've met some people who are not great. But you know what? The beauty is, it's my prerogative if I want to work with those people again or not. And there's nothing that says I have to be publicly nasty. I would never anyway, but you don't have to do anything you don't want to. And I think on that same end of the coin, you can do anything. The world is so small and getting smaller all the time. Someone I know could know someone they know could know, to be the cousin of somebody else. It's who cares? We're all just here to be gamers and have a really good time and be friends, because we all would rather just have friends than enemies, So why not just be nice and sure, I don't care how many followers you have. If you're good at what you do, let's go.
Yeah,
I don't care.
That's been a problem that I've run into with a lot, in the cosplay community and photography community.
Yeah,
it's very cliquey, and if you don't have a large following, it's wait, so you don't see the talent, but you look at the numbers first.
Yep.
And it's just that's one of the things that kind of always upset me. It's one of the things that a lot of people I found out were talking about me. They were saying it's no, you gotta work with Tony at these cons. He doesn't care who you are, if you're gay, you're straight, big, small, tall, supermodel looking, average looking. He'll work because my personal philosophy is everybody deserves photos.
Yep. Absolutely.
And that's what I try to do. And when, funny enough, when one of the biggest chances I ever got, and I'll be forever thankful for this chance that I got, was when we interviewed Nick Apostolides, who is the voice actor and motion capture for Leon in the Resident Evil 2 remake and in Infinite Darkness. After we got done with the interview, find out he's a fellow Boston guy like myself.
Oh, awesome.
So we connected, and he was making a Leon cosplay. He was going to be the character he voiced. It's great when you see voice actors.
So cool.
Right? So cool. And so
Wow.
when me and the team, we all decided to go down to PAX South when it was still there. Sadly, it's they closed up their doors, and I actually really, oh God, it was the first time I was at that con. It was also the last time, but it was an amazing experience. And so, you know, Nick asked if I knew anybody that had like an Ada Wong cosplay, and I was like, got you covered. I know a girl down there. It's a good friend of mine. And we shot, I think, for like 3 hours in this underground, like under the what do you call it, the hotel. We were in the maintenance tunnels, straight out of the remake. It was great. And then
that's awesome.
We went and did the panel with the team, and then after the signing we went out and we shot for like another 4 hours out in the city and everything, and like the river walkway that they got out there.
Yep.
We found the waterfall. I'm like, oh my God, this is great. And
I know exactly what you're talking about too.
Like that area is so beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
It's absolutely amazing. And you know, like the thing was, like, you know, Nick gave me that chance. And this guy's a voice actor. He's in like one of the biggest like remakes of all time. He didn't have to give me a chance, and he did. And I'm like forever thankful for him doing that. And you know, same with a buddy of mine. He's an actor here in Boston, but you know, we're both a part of a production show called Power Rangers Unworthy. And
hell yeah.
Like they brought me on to do the on-set photography, and like everybody's having fun, and like I've taken photos during the fight scenes, and we put them out there for promotional stuff, and they gave me a chance when nobody else would ever think to, because again, I only have like, you know, 2,000 followers or something like that on Instagram, and they didn't care. They saw the talent. So like I always really work hard for people to pay back the kindness that everybody else had showed me, because like, I mean, it's sad but true. There's a lot of bad photographers out there. And I try to find the people who've been like, you know, or they find me, honestly, because people just spread word of mouth, and they're just like, no, like, we work with you, like, we've heard about you, and like, that's the thing. I just want everybody to like be happy with what they do, and your community like is just amazing. I mean, like you say, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, but for the most part, you're all drama free from the sounds of it.
It's good. Hey, listen, I worked with 2 artists who were under major labels when I was in my early 20s, and I've never experienced something quite like that before, in which I wasn't allowed to be in a room because someone else was in that room, and I wasn't allowed to talk because this other producer was talking, and it just was like, this isn't for me. I don't like that kind of attitude. It's like, we're all here to make music. I don't know why someone feels like they're God on earth. It's not the way that it is. So it was really nice to really discover everyone in this scene, because it's so refreshing for me as a musician, not even just as a nerd, but as a professional musician. Everyone in VGM is so professional, and you know, no one's ever been inappropriate, no one's ever been rude. It's really nice. It's refreshing.
It's like, again, like in a world that we live in today and stuff like that, where a lot of people kind of just like step over one another to get where they want to be. It's great to know that there's people out there that just want to help and like promote others and stuff. Like they don't see them as competition but friends. Because like, again, that's how photography works. A lot of photographers won't promote other photographers because they're afraid of the competition or losing out on clients and everything. And it's like, dude, I promote my friends who are like fucking 5 times better than I am at photography. Like one of my friends, she is absolutely amazing. I would say she's the best photographer in Boston with what she does. And if there's a job that I personally know that I can't do, or because I'm traveling or I can't do it, I always send them to her, because she'll get the job done. And she actually worked with one of my best friends recently, because one of my best friends, she's great, but she's had a lot of bad experience with photographers. I'm like literally the only photographer she'll shoot with. So I was like, no, you got to go to Tati. Great, trust me on this. She's going to take care of you. So we all went on the shoot, and I was doing behind the scenes stuff and taking some shots here and there, and like she absolutely fell in love with the photos.
That's it.
You know, and that was the thing. It's just about making sure you're taking care of other people. It's not a hard thing to do. Some people make it like, you know, it's like, I'm going to take this arm and rip it off you right now, and you're going to be okay with it. Like,
and you're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. Like, no, you know, as long as you're just nice and stuff, hopefully it just gets you places.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so I think we did cover a couple of extra questions on that, so that was good. So I think like the one that we got to talk about right now is, what's been your favorite song you've covered so far on your channel? Like what's that one that just like, it hits you right in the strings?
Oh, that's a hard question. Okay, so little background. Okay, so Hmm. Whenever I whenever I'm doing a song, I should also just mention this. I just started a Patreon recently, and one of the incentives that I give patrons is they can help vote on what song I'm going to do.
Yep.
Haven't gotten there yet, but up until now, 100% of the songs that I've chosen to work on are the victim of my own brain. So I just like to put that out there because it's all my fault. Uh, honestly, I've really, really enjoyed doing the Guilty Gear Strive soundtrack.
Yes.
It's been so challenging. I've really had to practice and rehearse and learn the parts. Love the Subhuman Self was one of the hardest songs I've ever done. And it came out so wonderfully. I'm so proud of it. The Disaster of Passion cover I did is still one of my favorite covers I've done, and it actually got me the gig with Evo, which was really cool. So it was because of that cover that I was chosen for the Grand Blue Fantasy song, which was really dope, by the way.
That was amazing. And I'm gonna tell you right now, like Disaster of Passion, I think is better. Like your version, I like it more than the original. I love the original, like because like everybody was like saying like how like May is like this demon, the demon dolphin now because of how broken she was when the game first came out. Yeah. And I just like I heard the song. I was like, this is a good song. And then I saw your version of it. I'm like, I don't think I've seen anybody else cover this song. Let me hear a listen. I'm like, fucking, this is great. Like this literally beats the original. Like
thank you.
Like I literally have it like on my workout playlist and everything.
Oh
like,
hell, thank you so much.
It's just it's a really good song. And Guilty Gear's always had great music. When people cover it, I don't think I've ever really heard a bad version of a covered Guilty Gear song.
So good. It's so good. Like I think it really comes down to the composition too. I mean, amongst all of the soundtracks I've started, by the way, like diving into some of the older ones, but it's like the soundtracks are all treated with such care. And I think that game is so interesting too, just the format of how you hear songs, kind of like Street Fighter, where, you know, it'll be either the stage or it'll be one of the characters and you kind of, you know, it's different than just in an RPG where you're in an area or it's a character specifically and you just have to listen to their song. Fighting game soundtracks are on another level in general, but
are they ever?
like Guilty Gear Strive didn't have to go that hard.
Nope.
I just, every single time I cover one of these damn songs, I'm like, look, Daisuke, we need to chat because this, like every single time I hear one of these damn songs, it outdoes the past one and the next one after it. And it's just, like, it's so incredible. And for me, what my gift that I say is that I have the ability to pull apart layers of sound really easily in my head. And I'm just hearing all of these layers in the production. I'm like, my God, like there was so much thought that went into every single one of the tracks in the soundtrack. And I think that's why I've been having such a hell of a time in a good and bad way covering everything from it because it's so difficult, but it's so much fun to pull it off. It's like, oh, just love it.
Yeah, no, like Guilty Gear like was so obscure to many. Like I tried to turn people onto Guilty Gear for friggin' years and nobody wanted to give it a chuck. It wasn't Tekken, it wasn't Mortal Kombat, it wasn't Street Fighter, it wasn't even Killer Instinct, you know? And like for me personally, I was like, no, you guys, you got to give this a try. Like this guy that created it, he did the art for it, he voices the main character, he does the music for the game. This guy is a triple threat. He's brilliant.
Insane.
I'm telling you, you gotta play it. You gotta check Daisuke's work. And he does, like, it just, like, I mean, like, especially like when, like, I try to get people into, like, Accent Core Plus when it came out back in the day on the PS2, and that's, like, where I started getting people into it, and then, you know, thankfully, however, for whatever reason, Strive just blew up, and everybody was all for it, and I was super happy it was getting the love that it finally friggin' deserved, because it's been around since PlayStation 1 and Dreamcast era, for crying out loud.
That's so wild.
Yeah. And
I definitely hadn't heard of it until Strive, and then I started moving backwards to see the other entries and hear the other soundtracks, and it's like, oh my God, where have I been? It was right in front of me the whole time.
Yeah, like I said, it was one of those things that was kind of like ignored, like, you know, that people like kind of said, "Oh yeah, it's just an anime fighter. You know, we're gonna like forget that noise and stuff. It's like Melty Blood. It's like the which I mean, even Melty Blood is like it's gotten its popularity. I remember
Yep.
playing Melty Blood like 10+ years ago at my buddy's house, and I was like, oh, this is actually pretty fun. And then like all of a sudden, the last like 5 years, it's just been blowing up. Like I know it has a pretty good following at Evo too. So
I was gonna say it was at Evo, so I remember.
yeah, it's absolutely incredible. And
yeah.
Yeah, they're just really good. There's a lot of great music out there, and when it comes to Guilty Gear, it can't be beat in so many ways. I got a buddy of mine. He's not for the vocal versions of these songs. Like he kind of likes the regular instrumental versions. 'Cause that's what he grew up on. But I gotta tell you, man, adding vocals to Guilty Gear brings it to a whole new level.
It's so good.
It's so damn good.
And the vocalists they bring in, I'm just like, where the hell did this come from? It's every single time it surprises me. It's never what I expect. And I'm like, great. This is so refreshing.
Yeah. Absolutely
it's
incredible.
Nice. Yeah.
So I guess the next question, it's kind of polar opposite of what this current question was, but what song have you covered, but you didn't really think you liked it, or I should say, which would you like to revisit?
Okay. Without giving anything away for what I have for everyone to expect this year from me, I am in the process of redoing some old covers, actually.
Nice.
And it's not necessarily from a place of like I don't like it. It's more I've learned so much since I did so many of those older covers, and it's like the covers weren't bad. They just definitely suffered from my inexperience. And when I started YouTube, I was just working with a really old iMac that barely had any RAM. I think it had 2 gigabytes of RAM. I was working with filming on the front camera of my phone. I got started, and I have to I never chastise myself for some of the decisions I made because it allowed me to just get started and learn and want to, learn more about cameras, learn more about production, even more than I knew, and I wanted to get better at it. So it's really fun. I actually was working on an older song today for this undisclosed project that I'm doing. But I almost have a conversation with my past self. And this cover I did almost 4 years ago. And some of the choices I made were heckin' questionable, let me just say. But it's really fun. I rewrote the drum parts and I recorded those today. And just to have the more massive and creative drum fills and lines that I write now in this older piece, I went, oh, here we go. Now we're starting to everything's starting to feel good. We're starting to elevate. It's really getting there.
Yeah.
And there are some choices I made, specifically near the beginning of 2020, where I decided I just wanted to do the Final Fantasy crazy songs like One Winged Angel and Liberi Fatali. And I don't know why I did that because they crashed my computer multiple times. The videos came out really great. And my partner, Peter, who does all of my video and visual effects, is a goddamn genius. And even when I go back and watch those videos, they're fantastic by today's standards, by yesterday's standards, whatever. His work was never at fault. My songs sound good, but I can still hear the problems where I'm like, oh yeah, I shortcut there. And oh yeah, I cut corners there just because I didn't have the processor to do a full orchestra and a full choir of just myself. So there's some choices I made that aren't my favorite, but as I'm going through and kind of updating some of my older material, it really is a conversation. And I know Ro Panaganti, who's another VGM superstar, he's been around for a really long time.
Yeah.
Who's Wiggles P homie. Ro posted about it, I think at the beginning of the summer. He was looking at some stuff and he went, boy, young Ro really had some ideas. And it's true though. I mean, with audio engineering, there's so much time that goes into just about any decision that you make. And I think looking back at it, I really try and understand why did I do this? Like, what was the reasoning that I hard panned those things? Like, what creative choice was I trying to make? I'm not sure still on some of it. But yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff that I want to redo more from a point of I want to give it a shot and a kind of a fair chance with the production ideas I have now. And maybe I'll do this again in 5 years because I hope I'm even more professional by then. But uh, it's kind of fun. It's definitely like a walk down memory lane with myself looking through old session files.
I've been like the same with like my own like photography. I'll go back like
Sure.
5 years.
Yeah.
Like I met some of my best friends that I have now 5 years ago, and the work we did was good back then. But I'm like,
Yeah.
I could have done angles better on this shot. Lighting could have been edited a little bit better on this part here. I think we could have had like, like a more better angle for your head and everything to make it a little bit more flattering. Like,
Yep.
and they're like, no, it's a great shot. And I was like, I know I could do better. And like, I've learned how to edit photos like a lot better. Cause I wasn't really like heavy into like doing Photoshop edits, but that's kind of like what a lot of people wanted. So I had to kind of like learn that stuff. I was just
Yep.
kind of doing like Lightroom stuff, altering the
Sure.
lighting here and there. But, I've
Yep.
learned how to do that in Photoshop a lot better. And it's been a game changer. So yeah, like we're always like, I mean, when you're an artist, you're never, in my opinion, like you never master anything because you're always still kind of learning,
State of flux constantly.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you even have it because I find myself doing this too. There's still stuff that I've done that I did like 6 years ago that sounds great. And I'm like, how did I get there? How did we like find that result? Even when I had no idea, I didn't have the tools, I didn't have the knowledge, I just did it. And I don't know. It's funny how sometimes just the moment and the state in which something happens, it can't be replicated again.
Yeah. No, like I've
Yeah.
had that with certain shoots I've done. Yeah, you're 100% right. There was times where
Yeah.
I did these shoots and I'm just like, this is absolutely incredible. Like 3 years ago,
Yeah.
I did a Castlevania shoot for 3 friends, and we went to this church in Boston, and shockingly enough, the church does not care if people do photos under the catacombs and like on the stairs to the place. Like they're really cool about it. They don't really
Wow.
let you inside. I'm kind of hoping to like rectify that because I've got a really like cool Cowboy Bebop shoot planned this year.
Hell yeah.
I'm hoping to like we can just walk in, take a couple of shots, and then get out before they really care, or if I something $100. But
Yeah.
like I did that Castlevania shoot, and I felt that it was right out of the games. A lot of people are like, oh, it's right out of the show. And I'm like, oh, that's right. Yeah, many of you know the show. You don't know the games
right.
and everything. Which, to be fair, I can't blame them because Konami gave up on Castlevania years ago.
Ugh,
so
I know.
But those were the 3 characters. It was from the show and everything. But,
Yeah.
I was just like, I don't think I can top another Castlevania shoot like this. Like I've done some since then, but that shoot itself was one that just, I haven't been able to top that. So
Yep.
I totally get what you mean.
Yeah, sometimes there's just magic in the air. It's a really good message to remind ourselves and anyone listening that there's never a right time or a perfect time to make something. You just kind of have to do it because you have no idea what the result's going to be, and it might be fantastic, it might be very mid, I mean, you don't know. So I feel like if you can put yourself in a position where you're just comfortable creating and just making whatever it is that you do, you will find ways to improve upon it, or you could have a very unexpected gem moment where it's really, really cool.
Yeah, and you gotta love when those happen, honestly.
Oh, I do. I wish they'd happen all the time, but you know what? It's okay. It's okay. I'll take the carrots wherever I can get them.
I think I think for something like that, it's like we all want our stuff to be like the toppest of tier. Like we want it to like be the best it could possibly be. But I think it's one of those things where if we don't, but it still comes out great and we can learn from that. And then like, down the line, we look back and be like, I could have done this with what I know now. Now I can apply this to future stuff. Then in that way, you can kind of replicate what you did before, but maybe even better because you have a better understanding. And I think in many ways, like you learn more by failing than succeeding. I think
Absolutely.
I think that's like a pretty old saying, but I think there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, explains my life and everything. I fail at everything, and it seems to work out fine at the end of the day.
No, you know what? But that's life. That's what it is, and we'll never learn as long as we're comfortable. And I do say this, so I teach I have a couple music students, and I love working with kids and teenagers because they're so real, just in the sense that it's such a healthy way for them to take risks, to challenge themselves, to be uncomfortable. Um, and I think honestly, it's a great reminder just because you don't grow if you're comfortable. You don't grow if you maintain the same routine. You don't grow if all you do is do what is within your grasp. And I think, I'm sure anyone could say this with sports, but my experience is with music. So, um, if you never challenge yourself to what you think you could never do, you will never achieve it, period. So I think taking those risks, um, in a way that you can live with yourself if you fail, which everyone should be able to live with failure. It's just a part of life. It's the human experience.
Yeah.
Then you will make progress and you will grow and you will be proud of yourself and you will gain worth in that you did something that you never thought you could do before. And that's such like it makes you feel good. It's a good feeling.
I mean, well, some people might be okay being where they are. Others, it's kind of like that thing. They're too afraid to take that step. They're comfortable. They know what's going to happen if they stay where they are. They're used to it. Yep. And, for photography, that was me for the longest time because I didn't really move on. Like, I was just doing cosplay shoots for the most part. Mm-hmm. And I really wanted to move into other stuff. And then, people were hiring me for like headshots. People would then hire me for car shoots. Then I started doing boudoir shoots for people. I started doing fashion shoots. I started doing, like pets. Everything. People wanted like pictures of their pets and everything. And like, I was so nervous. And like I started doing weddings years ago. I don't do weddings anymore. It's very rare that I do them because they're just so stressful.
Very stressful. Yeah.
Everyone's like, what's so stressful about it? And I was like, the fact that people get liquored up before the ceremony, they don't respect your wishes. Like there's a reason why I don't do them. I did my buddy's that I've known for 10 years. I did his wedding back in October, and he and his wife really wanted me to do it, and it was fine. Yeah. We made it work, and it was great. Mm-hmm. My computer just became a potato, so I had to like wait 2 months to build the new one. But
oh man,
like that was the thing. I still did it, and I gave them what they wanted. And a friend of mine too, she got married 2 years ago, and her father, who passed away during COVID, unfortunately, he was a photographer, and she really wanted me to do the photos at the wedding because she knew I would get the job done. She hired another photographer as well, and I didn't want to do it, but then I remembered her dad, and like her dad was a photographer, and he would want me there because he knew me, he knew about me, and I met him a handful of times before he passed, and so I was like, all right, you know what, I'll do it. And to be honest, it was the best wedding I ever shot because people were respectful. Everybody listened, and like that's the thing. I broke out of like I said, I don't do weddings anymore. But for anybody that's like, at least I tried it.
Of course. Well, you never know.
Yeah,
you never know.
You don't. I mean, like I did get jobs from like a lot of people from those weddings, like that needed like headshots and family events and stuff. Which, like doing family events or any kind of event like that, sporting stuff, that's the easiest stuff to shoot.
Yep.
Anything. It's honestly the less stressful because everyone's just like, just take pictures of everybody having fun. Yeah. All right, cool. I'll get them with their cake in their face and everything like that. I'll get the other the two kids beating the crap out of each other, the cousins fighting each other. So it's stuff like that. It helps. It just helps.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so let's see. We're gonna go to this is a good one. So you've been going to cons a lot and everything like that. I don't know if you went before you got like into music and everything or performing, but was there any particular con that you really loved, or was there like a con that just made you stand out and be like, I love this shit?
Oh, there's many. I've been going to cons since I was in junior high. I've been a cosplayer for years and years, and it's just been like such a passion of mine because, and I know you know this too, it's your people.
Yeah.
You're constantly surrounded by your people and people who are even weirder, which for me was a very, very high bar. So I like couldn't believe that I found people who were quirkier and very odd than I was. And I went, wow, great. This is dope. Awesome. I can just be my weird self and everyone is cool. So cons for me were a very important way to connect with a lot of my friends and a way to, feel beautiful in cosplay and just dressing how I wanted to dress and just being myself. It was a really affirming experience for me to go to conventions. And when I started doing VGM, I think I was at ALA, Anime LA.
Yep.
And this was back when it was super duper small and basically like just I was one of maybe like 80 people at the convention. And I remember being like, someone's performing out there. they're performing anime music outside. I want to do that. That's my shit. I want to do that. So like, I was in a band where like we traveled to different conventions and we did that kind of thing, and it was fine. I really started to kind of be like, wow, people do show up and like people support musicians, and that's really cool, because I would obviously, but it's nice to know there's other people out there who would show up. If like I were performing at a convention, people would come. So as my solo career started building and everything, I left that band because I just had to focus on my own shit. And I started like really, really going hard on conventions. And it was so much fun for me. And I really got to meet people and connect over VGM and go to video game music events and video game conventions, which I was already like, this is my favorite thing in the world to do anyway. And now I get to, you know, go here and share what I do all day with everyone at this convention. And it's been so great. I literally just got home Sunday. I performed at Super Bitfest in San Antonio, Texas, and it was stellar. And all of the team at Super Bitfest did an outstanding job, and I know they're working hard to make it an annual thing. So if you're in San Antonio, don't miss any of their events. It was so good. The vibes reminded me of like early Anime Expo or early conventions where things just felt right. There was no drama. It was easy. Everyone was so kind and so polite, and just good vibes all around. I have to say, so last year I was invited to perform at VGM Con, which is in Minneapolis, and I really didn't know what to expect. I'd never been to the Midwest before. So I said yes, and I was like, sure, sounds like fun. Go play some video game music. Why not? That convention was so good. It had no right being as good as it was. I swear that whole team, and they're only getting better. They have it's happening again in April 14th through the 16th at Crown Valley Plaza, I think is what it's called, in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Sorry guys if I'm saying that wrong. VGM Con was dope. Amazing cosplayers, amazing musicians. There were 2 full stages. Like, they took over that hotel and made such a wonderful event. I could not say more nice things about VGM Con, because they handled every single thing that was thrown their way so well. And it was, you know, I mean, it was right after the little Delta surge that we had in Corona last year.
Oh, yeah.
And so they, my hat goes off to them, because they really like kept everybody safe. They kept things really sanitary, and like people were on it, and no one was being an ass. Everyone was, you know, taking care of each other. And I think it's resounded really well with me, because you could tell that the people who put on the event, the people who volunteered for the event, care about their community, and they were looking out for every single person there, because a lot of people still do suffer from social anxiety, regardless of the pandemic or not.
Yeah.
And you could tell like people were taking time to like be patient with anyone who was really suffering being social. I loved it. It just reminded me of the community I'm in, how nice everyone is, and how much we all just always need to take care of our fellow people, no matter what you think or believe. It's like, the point is to take care of each other. And that was an event where I really felt that. I really, really felt how communal we all are. So VGM Con in Minneapolis, don't miss it. If you are even near or like video game music, it is such a great event. And the people who put it on are really lovely people.
That sounds so much better than like something like MagFest, because everybody keeps trying to get me to go to MagFest. And I'm like, guys, if I can't book enough gigs, then I don't go to cons. Like that's why I go to cons these days, is to make money. And you know, I was thinking about it, but then I was like, nah, you know, it's a party con and stuff, and it was bad this year there, I was told. Like, I know a lot of my friends had fun, but they saw a lot of terrible things.
Mhm.
Like they were just
I
like, are people getting worse? And I'm like, yeah, they probably are.
Yeah, I was at MagFest last year and this year. Last year I performed at MagFest and it was apparently like less than 50% capacity, like a very chill con. So
Yep.
like that was what my impression of it was. And I went, this is great. What are you guys talking about? Why is everyone saying it's like Lion Con and like all this stuff? This year was definitely a lot more attended.
Hmm.
But it's interesting because my perspective is a little different, I think, than um someone who is going for cosplay or for community meetups and stuff like that, because I'm working that whole convention. Like I'm going to meetings, I'm doing panels, I'm definitely attending MagFest as like an employee kind of.
Yeah.
So I didn't necessarily have those kind of experiences, but I don't doubt it with how big it is. And even this year, I know it wasn't at full capacity, but it was closer than last year. So, but yeah, Anime Expo is one of those that I like. I used to go to back in 2005 and 2006, and I went this last year for the first time since then,
Oh,
and it was sold out. It was oversold as
yep.
well.
Sounds about
Uh,
right.
it was terrifying. It honestly, like, no one gave a damn about personal space. Nobody
No.
cared about um anyone in lines or respecting any sort of boundaries, and it just was like, wow, okay, might be pausing my attendance on this one for a while. Like, holy crap,
Yeah, my
that's just
sister and I,
not it.
we did Anime Expo. I think it was back in 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Yeah, back in 2017 we
Okay.
went, and you know, our friend who did like back like when, you know, gaming companies were allowed to have girls at the booths and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
She worked for Capcom, and wanted to go see her and wanted to go see some people and just see what it was like, you know.
Mhm.
And my God, like waiting outside for like 3 hours in the 4th of July sun.
I was gonna say it's always the hottest weekend of the
Yep.
year too.
And then
Yep.
like I'm just like, wait a minute, you guys aren't using the big front doors. You're having us go through one small side door. That's
Yep.
why this is taking so long. Then we get in there,
Yep.
and you're all
Yep.
like that first episode of SpongeBob where all the anchovies just pile in and you can't see a floor and it's just a sea of heads.
Yeah,
Like that-
and that's still what it is too.
Yeah.
That's still what it is.
and then I saw like people saying like what Anime Expo costs this year for the
Yeah.
hotels and the tickets, and I'm like,
Yeah.
and if you're factoring people who are flying across the country for this, I'm like, y'all could go to Japan for crying out loud with the money that
I
you're
know.
spending to this. Like, go
I
there,
would
go
rather.
to England for the weekend or something. Like, don't go to Anime Expo. Like, you know,
Yeah.
it's just I think some cons they've gotten too big. Like, I won't
Yeah.
go to New York Comic Con anymore. My sister and I did that for like 2 years in like 2012 and 2013, and
Yeah.
it just sea of heads everywhere. Couldn't do photos properly for clients, you know, and
Oh yeah.
like I like going to the smaller ones myself,
Yeah.
or decently sized. Well, like I said, I still go to PAX, but that's mainly
Mhm.
for my friends who come from out of state. I come into the city and just do photos for them. Then
Yeah.
I just head home. Anything. I don't
Yeah.
really like spend too much time at the con itself.
Yeah. I've
Like,
still never been to a PAX. That's on my list of things to do.
yeah, if you can get out to Boston, PAX East is loved by a lot of people. They got, I mean, like
Yeah.
they have music and stuff, and they're getting better with how they do stuff.
Oh, that's good.
They weren't like bringing in industry guests or voice actors for the longest time, and now they started to do that.
Good.
They understand like that, you know, that's a draw for a crowd. A lot of people go to conventions to meet voice actors,
Yep.
and a lot of musicians go to it too. And then they do bring in a lot of like musicians from like online to it and everything. So if you get the chance to either be a guest or just come out here on your own dime and everything, it's kind of worth it.
Yeah. I
Kind of
want
cold
to.
when they have it, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm used to that now with conventions being kind of one of the things that I'm doing year round. It's cold at some of these places, and I'm a little Southern California child. I have no cold tolerance whatsoever. So like all my friends make fun of me whenever I go anywhere that's less than like 40 degrees. I'm in a parka, like just all the way. You can only see my eyes. Like I can't do the cold. I do it, but I just can't. I'm not comfortable at all. But I'll just do it.
I love it.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. That's what it is.
So I think let's see that we got this one right here. So this question is pretty good one, I feel. What's a song you want to cover but haven't? If it's one of your upcoming ones, you don't want to spoil it, obviously. But whether it was a video game one or a popular song, and like just one that you haven't covered but you really want to.
Good question. One I haven't gotten to yet. I have a lot of Zelda that I want to do this year, and I didn't grow up with Zelda. The first Zelda game I ever played was actually in college, and it was Ocarina of Time. I just didn't have Zelda.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because you should hear the flack I get from everyone in video games. They're like, "What do you mean you don't like Zelda?" I'm like, I don't have the attachment. Like, I have to find a game that really like gets me, you know?
Yeah.
But I have a few Zelda songs that are in the queue, so all y'all can get excited about that. Let me see. I keep like this little notes document and it's so long, of like every song I've ever wanted to do. I actually have a Mimi one that is very true that I really want to do, and that's Coconut Mall. I really want to cover Coconut Mall. I want to find a way to do it where it's hilarious but really, really fun, because that song brings me joy, and I want to bring that song to everyone.
Definitely. I mean, like that's a good way to do that kind of stuff, honestly, because it's good to do different things too. You know, like ones that people might not do that often, or when you kind of throw it out there. Like if you throw it on your YouTube channel at one point, people are gonna be like, "The hell is this? Oh, this is actually really good." You know, like it's nice to like do songs that might not be considered popular, or ones that you just enjoy personally. Because I know like a lot of content creators get burnt out for doing songs they have to do versus ones that they want to do because it's a lot of fun.
You know, and I'm very famous for that, because the whole spirit of my channel, it still is stuff I want to do. I don't feel the need to do the 80th cover of a song that just came out a week ago that everyone's already beaten to death.
Yeah.
Like, I really don't. I'm covering stuff that came out like 20 years ago, or a song from the new game that just came out that no one's even wanted to make sheet music for yet, and I'm like, I'll do it. Like, that's me. That's my kind of thing. Like, I think there's so much missing. It's like such a soulless practice to only do stuff for clout or numbers or views or anything like that. And while those things are nice and can be affirming of hard work, it's like, if you do something you really, really like, like everyone could tell. Yeah. And you can always tell with me because my face shows everything. I'm always just like, just like enjoying myself. But like, that's the reality of it, you know? I mean, the best way I can express myself, and I'm very silly, is through my music and through my performance. And like, I have fun doing what I do. I don't do stuff to just be the coolest person to cover Megalovania again. It's like, it's just, if I felt like doing it, I would do it, you know? And like, that's all that it is. That's all that it has to be.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't fault a lot of people for having to do what's popular because of how social media works. It's like, if you're not doing the latest TikTok trend or not doing the latest song covered by a lot of people, you know, then you don't get the views really when the video comes out. But if you are able to somehow establish your own channel that you do with a following that understands that you're not just about popular stuff, you're gonna do you enjoy other things. If people understand that, you'll get the views, you'll get the people coming in, you'll get the people that discover your other work and what you do. I mean, because like you did what was it recently? It was a hot ticket. Vandalize.
Oh yeah.
Anything like that. I mean, like, you know, Little V had covered that. That was a great version. Then I heard your version. I was blown away by that as well. And it's just like,
thank you.
Like, no problem. It's just like,
and
I love that. I love that. Like, you can still do popular stuff, but you still do your. I mean, like, if anybody goes through your whole YouTube channel, right, they're gonna see that you do everything.
Yeah,
and
it's all the stuff I like.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it. I mean, like, you go from like doing, you know, Chun-Li's theme to Luigi's Mansion. Anything like that. What was it, like the
best bops out there, right there, right? Dude. Those are the best bops right there.
And then, you know, you did the DuckTales song. You've done Persona. Yep. You've done I loved it. You put it out a while back, or just recently. Metroid Prime 2.
Oh
Echoes.
yeah. Yeah,
That
yeah, yeah.
fucking mint, dude. Like
Thank you.
that
I'm
that
so
song
proud
just
of that record.
dude, that song just gets me pumped. I love it.
Yeah, I
Um,
had a lot of fun with that one too. That was like one of the last songs I did for the album, my album Next Mission, which is all Metroid music. That song was one that I like I don't know, I hadn't been putting it off, but I definitely wasn't prioritizing it.
yeah.
And I took like I think I did Rundus before I did that one actually, and I had like put so much of my energy and time into Rundus because that song was so complex. And I'm like sitting down to do Echoes and I went, this is so simple. Interesting.
Yep.
Because like just the way that I felt about it, I went, okay, we're going to lean into that then because there's so much space and there's so much space in Metroid. That's such a hilarious pun, but there's a lot of musical space within Metroid that is so intentional. And I think it reminds me of what one of my professors said to me a really long time ago is that music is never in what you're hearing. It's the things that you're not hearing. It's the space in between.
Yep.
And that is a really prime example of it just because like I love riffs and I love a lot of guitar playing that is really intentional. Shredding isn't my thing. I'm so happy for those who can do it. Props to you. I wish I could, but that's just not me. I'm a rhythm guitar player. So like I really resonated a lot with how the Echoes theme made me feel and how like the ostinato of a lot of the little beginning moments that just repeat and keep moving. There's a reason it's all there in that way and presented that way. And I just was like, ooh, I need this. Like, oh, so I'm glad. I really like, people have really enjoyed the Metroid Prime stuff I did. And I'm really glad just because in the entire trilogy of Metroid Prime is so interesting melodically. So I think I'm really glad everyone enjoyed it because I spent a lot of time getting it right, trying to get it right.
Oh, definitely, 100%. I mean, I guess like that's the next thing we can run into and talk about is you've made a few albums already, and each one's been really good and very different. Like like you because like you said earlier in this interview, like you like to do different styles. You don't just stick to one thing, and I think that that's really amazing. And so, like I mean, like tell the people about those albums. You talked a little about the Metroid one, but like, what was it that made you want to do these each specific ones? Like, what was the thought process for that?
So, okay, the main motivator behind my first two, I would say my first one technically was an EP I put out in 2020 called Limit Break, which is all Final Fantasy VII music.
Yep.
In a synth kind of package. So that album and the Midnight Channel were entirely because of YouTube. I did a cover. Well, I did the whole Limit Break album because I decided to dedicate the month of April 2020 to Final Fantasy VII because the remake was coming out, and I am a Final Fantasy fangirl, and you all can put the pieces together. So at that point, I went, well, I have most of an EP done now that I just did, 4 videos. I said I could add a couple more songs, and then we've got like a little mini album there. So that's kind of what happened there. I really was not expecting the response to Persona 4 that I got. I'm more than pleased because the music really hit me very hard. So I'm so glad that YouTube was so kind to recommend it to so many people because I still get comments all the time on the Reach Out to the Truth video that I did of people finding it and being like, oh my God, this is the best cover I've ever heard of this song, or this made me feel something, or this reminded me when I played this game with my brother back in, 2005, blah, blah, blah. And it just became a community. And I was so shocked by it because I'd done Persona 5 covers prior because I love Persona 5 and didn't have nearly the kind of response as opposed to when I did Persona 4. So that was such a welcome surprise for me. Because I was having fun making the music. I was cranking out a cover almost every day. I was like at the point where it just flowed through me. To the point where, again, it kind of happened very organically where I said, I've covered most of the soundtrack at this point. What if I just put it on a record and like released it and did the whole thing, because I'd never made like an actual CD. I'd never done my own record release before. I'd been on CDs but never done it myself.
Yeah.
So that was a very new and educational experience, and people loved it. And I only have 3 copies of the Midnight Channel left, actually, because even, just at the convention I was just at, people bought it like crazy. People said, "Oh my God, I love Persona 4. Like, I love the new remaster. It's awesome. Like, let me pick this up." And I'm so happy. Because that record is great. That soundtrack is great. So it's not surprising that it all works together, because it already all works together. But Metroid was a different animal. That was a very planned project from the get-go, because I loved Metroid Dread and I love Super Metroid. Super Metroid's my favorite Metroid game. But Dread just felt like a very natural modern continuation to Super for me. So I covered Samus's theme, and people didn't know what to do with that. They went, "What? This is so great. What are you doing Metroid?" And I went, "I don't know. I just like it." And then I started thinking about the soundtracks, and I think one day I did like a deep dive and just played like a Metroid playlist on YouTube and heard all of the amazing area themes, heard all of like the boss battle themes, and I just was like, "Oh hell, I'm making a record, aren't I?" Like, I just know the patterns in my head now, where I start and I'm like, "Oh no." So that one was really planned. I spent a long time working on those tracks. There's 12 tracks from 6 different Metroid games. All very intentionally arranged, all very intentionally listed. So I went through a couple different orders of the track lists until I was really happy with making a track list that mimicked, in my opinion, the experience of Samus arriving, making the descent, losing everything, and then making her eventual ascent and beating the final boss and having her fanfare, and that's the end of the record. So like, I spent a long time conceptually making it work.
Yeah.
And I told no one. I told my friend Dan Cattell, who is an amazing Metroid cosplay community organizer.
I
love that man.
Yep.
There we go. So I love that man with my whole heart. So creative. I love the Metroid database community. Everyone in that community has been so welcoming to me. I just threw on like a Zero suit that I bought on Amazon, and they went, "You're in. We're happy." And I went, "Okay." So it was just, I told him, he was the only person I told that I was making this album. And he said, "My God, when you do, I need it. I need to share it with everyone." And I went, "Don't worry, I won't shut up about it." And I didn't. So it was really, really fun to kind of go through the motions of, I hired an artist, Red Coconut Studio. Issa is so talented. She does all of Curaga Records stuff. She's done a lot of Materia stuff. She did a lot of different VGM artists' album art, and she's just an incredible artist in person in general. And so I was so thrilled that she was down to make Samus hold a guitar. I was like, she was on board with all my crazy ideas, so I went, "Issa, we're gonna work just fine."
Yeah, no, like that cover, that art tool was beautiful, because I did buy that album. Like, I remember like when I saw it was gonna be a physical version, and I was like, "Oh, dude, this art's amazing, and these songs are great. I gotta do this. Like, I gotta get this, because like Metroid is one of my favorite franchises of all time, because I mean, I will die on the hill on this, but I say that Metroid Fusion is a horror game. You cannot sit there and tell me that it's not. Some people have tried to. I'm like, dude, you have no weapons, and a clone of you is stalking you throughout a space station, and you can't do a damn thing but run from it. It's literally Resident Evil 3 with, like, it's the new nemesis. Like,
it is. Oh my God.
Like, it's
totally Resident Evil 3.
Yeah. And it's just, as years went by, people started seeing what I was saying about it. And, just like, it's just, I mean, like, it's also great that, we got Fusion. I think we got Fusion and Prime the same year. But yeah, like, that whole album was just absolutely amazing. That art was like, I think art is like what can sell things too. And music sells things as well. And I think I think, what you said, Super Metroid being your favorite Metroid of all time.
Yeah.
Completely
Yeah.
understand that. Mine's mine's Metroid Fusion, but
Yeah. Fusion's fantastic.
yeah, Super is like right below it though. It's like
Yeah,
almost on
yeah.
the edge of like tying for first. But Super, I think, when it comes to its music, is untouchable in almost any other. And all the Metroid games have great music. Don't get me wrong.
Oh,
but
yeah.
when you walk into a new area, that theme makes you feel like you're in that area.
Yeah.
And it just gives off that atmosphere of like you searching this planet. I mean, like the wreck ship.
Yep.
Like right then and there. Like that stuff that freaked me out as a kid. That music really got you going. It really you felt that space fear, and then it's just such a good one. And like I said, like that entire album you hit it. You did everything you should have when you make a Metroid song.
Thank you. I tried. I really tried. Kenji Yamamoto, who is the main composer for like basically all of Metroid, and of course there's a few other composers too, but I'd say it's mostly his ideas and brain. He is one of those that it reminds me, I mean, obviously Metroid reminds me so much of Alien, which is one of my favorite movies ever. And I just very much see John Carpenter's vision within a lot of Kenji Yamamoto's vision. And I see so much of the experimentation. And so I was very inspired by that idea by being like, well, some things can be very straightforward synth and arpeggiated and programmed and stuff. But I also want moments of like really raw energy. And I wanted to experiment writing some guitar solos. I wanted to like throw some things on there that I didn't think were very obvious. And, one of my favorites actually is the Metroid Hatchling track. That
Metroid
was
2.
added because, because everything was just hitting really hard in my production. And I was like, I feel like I need a moment of levity and kind of a moment to, as you said, like unsettle you a little bit, because starting it off with, our Metroid fanfare and our overture and our theme of our hero Samus is really great, and then I wanted the listener to have this feeling of being immediately out of your element. And I think the Metroid Hatchling track does that so beautifully in that it's so open.
Yeah.
And there's little artifacts going on constantly, and there's like moments where things are moving. I did a lot with sound design on that track where I'm having things in one ear, I'm having things like above you, I'm having things below, and then it's mirroring. Like you don't really know what is around you, but you feel the movement, and then things just kind of build up and come in, and then we go, straight down into Brinstar and like all this stuff. So it's like I wanted to really create a journey and a lot of movement within the album.
I could definitely say you nailed that 100%.
Thank you.
Like that, like what you just talked about is literally bleeding from that album.
Thank you.
So,
heck, thanks.
And then, like the other one you did though, like this was like one that I didn't even, I think I saw your announcement about it, but you did a lo-fi Final Fantasy cover, and like I was like, that's very different than the normal stuff she does. I want to check this out, and I was like, this is pretty damn good. Like lo-fi to me is like hit or miss, but I was like, I really enjoy this.
Thank you. That started as an inside joke a few years ago because, God, I did a lo-fi cover of Zelda's theme, and I did a lo-fi cover of Ecruteak City from Pokemon. And I had a really good time making those tracks. And it was kind of like this dare with myself being like, well, you should just make a lo-fi album because then it just would be easy. Because lo-fi, albeit, is very hit or miss. I experience it as a consumer myself. I'm like, no, these sounds really are not gelling for me, X, Y, and Z. There's a lot of reasons. But I had this feeling in my head after I did the Besaid lo-fi cover during the pandemic, which is easily still one of my favorite arrangements I've ever done of a video game song. I went, maybe I could do it. But it's been like 4 years in the making, and I wasn't sure if licensing was going to go through. I made the art myself. That was my own little like painting and drawing of a crystal. I was at the point where like I was like, well, I guess if I just have to be like, it's out, then it would be. And the licensing cleared like 2 days before the album was supposed to come out. And so I was at this point where I went, you know what? I'm just going to pull like a Beyonce or a Taylor Swift and be like, guess what? I made an album and it's out tonight. There you go. And it worked. And it was great. And it's still honestly my most successful album on Spotify to date. So we'll see. If y'all want more lo-fi, let me know. I have more ideas. But it was just kind of a nice little palate cleanser for me. People have been so nice to use it on their streams or stories, and it's nice. It's all stuff that, again, was very intentional, was laid out in a way that I wanted to kind of, again, represent the journey of Final Fantasy. It was unexpected, but that's also me in a nutshell. You never really know what I'm going to do next, so I try and maintain that image very well.
I mean, that's a good way to be, you know, like you're not like keeping like your followers guessing like what you're gonna do, and not like really releasing. I know like on your Patreon, because I joined that when I saw it. You know, I know like you like say, oh yeah, this is what I've got coming up right now, but you don't release it to the public. You release it to the people who, you know, were kind enough to be a part of your Patreon and stuff, and that's great. Like that's great that you do that. Like you give people that little inside. But
and y'all will know a lot more very soon as well.
Very nice. So yeah, like guys, if you're not subscribed to the Patreon already for Lacey, like I'll have it down below in the description for you guys. Definitely go do that. Like I'm a big supporter of like music and art, and because like I the only other Patreons I follow is Little V's and Dave Raposa. He's an artist.
Right on. Right on.
And everything. I want to support more artists, but some of them are pretty expensive, and I don't have the money for it right now. But you know, it's like when I go to conventions, the biggest thing I always do, I never go to the dealer's room really. I always go to Artist Alley. Yep.
I knew exactly where that was going.
I see it. I see like all like these. Like I go for charms because I've got like 2 jugs right here, like these like giant like beer glasses. Like one's a Die Hard one, and the other is like a Stars one from Resident Evil, and they're just filled with keychains. Like I have them. This is like like on my keys and everything like that. I got like the new Ken and shit like that from Street Fighter 5, and
perfect.
I just love these things, and it's a great way to support them. And I was at ColossalCon East last year, and I saw this one stand that had a lot of great charms, and I saw this Ridley one, and it was as big as my fist.
Oh, it's awesome.
And she was charging like $35 for it, and I did want to buy it, and I meant to go back, and I didn't. Oh, no, I did go back, and she had actually sold out of all of them. So I was happy they just sold.
Yeah, of course.
Because like, you know, that's the thing. Like, as I remember there was these like there was this people at ColossalCon East. They had made these Pokemon terrariums out of like Game Boy shells.
I've seen those. Those are so cool.
Like they're absolutely insane detail.
Yeah.
And this guy is standing next to me. And he's like, "Wow, this is really too expensive." And I literally just looked over at him. I didn't even know who this guy was. I just grabbed him by the collar, and I was like, "Get the fuck out of here right now! You never say that to a goddamn artist, you piece of shit." And he was all freaked out. And the people at the thing like thanked me because they had a couple people they heard were saying that like, oh, this is for a Game Boy Advance clam thing, we have to pay $80. It's like, dude, it's $80, but it's fucking amazing. Like, look at the level of detail.
I know, and like I have a lot of friends who are artists, and especially like a lot that are in Artist Alley, and they undercharge for stuff, and I'm like, how many hours did you just put into this? You know, like for $80, I'm sure they spent multiple hours. Like you're paying yourself a very low rate. It's like, no, the right audience, the right people know exactly what the value of this is. So it's like, it's never the people who have that perspective. It's always the people who, you know, just want something they can order on Amazon and just call it a day. And it's like, no, this was made with time and care and love, just like games. See, our conversation comes all the way back. It's like
full circle.
It's like, yeah, I mean, really, the people who understand the process of creation know and value exactly what that is worth to an artist and to the audience. And it's like, no.
Yeah.
Charge for your art. Everyone charge more.
Yeah. I mean, like I started doing the same thing. I thought at cons, like nobody would want to pay my prices if I went higher. So like I would do like $100 a shoot. And my friends, especially in New York, because New Yorkers are so used to paying astronomical amounts of money for anything. My friends were like, dude, we'll pay for that. Like that's $100 is nothing compared with the photographers around here charge. We'll hire you.
Yeah.
like I always believe in, like I don't believe like, you pay me $100, I'm not going to just give you 4 heavy edits back. You're getting like 10 heavy edits, and then you get the light edits of like smooth out skin, like all this other stuff. Like I do some edits, and then the heavier edits are like more like sun flares, and if like they're like powers, or if like they're character like Samus. I special effects. I do special effects for them, and I look at it this way: like I sit at a computer and I just edit stuff and everything. I can spend a little extra time doing these amazing edits for people. It's not that hard to give back in that way, and that's how I built my business. But then I did start charging more at cons and stuff, and then people were complaining, and people were like, "Oh, well, like, can we work out some kind of deal?" I'm like, "There's already deals on top of deals. You pay $100 for a shoot. If you want a secondary shoot, you get it for $75. You pay for a third shoot, you get it for $50. And if you recommend anybody to me, you get an additional $5 off your shoot." Yeah. So like there are deals to be had, but people don't want to pay for it, which is so weird because like. You and I have been going to cons for years. We know what ticket prices cost. We know what hotel prices, and we've all been in the rooms where everybody buys an obscenely stupid amount of booze.
Yeah.
And it's just like, if you can buy all that, you can spend all this, you can pay for a photographer, or you can buy a musician's CD at their booth, or you can buy some art at Artist Alley,
Yeah, I know. Especially, I think the thought that people have is more as a consumer, and I'm like, okay, let's put it from a consumer point of view. You're buying the art. Are you going to look at it? Cool. Are you going to listen to it if it's that kind of medium? Cool. So it's like, why would you expect something that's going to continually bring you value and enjoyment or enrichment to be undervalued when you already are seeing the value that you will have in it? So it's like, don't expect artists or people who are professionals to change what they need just to get through the day. And most of us aren't charging enough anyway.
Yes.
So it's like the fact people do have the audacity to complain about it breaks my heart, because I have a friend who is such a talented 2D artist, and she makes shadow boxes, and she's one of those people, I'm sure you've seen them at cons too, like she will make full canvas sized shadow box art that's like hundreds of layers of paper.
Yep.
And it's beautiful, and she is afraid to even charge $100 for something that's literally like huge, like 2 by 3 feet. And I'm like, what are you doing? My God. Like, yeah, you're not going to have everyone buying like 100 units, but do you have that many anyway? No. Like, geez, value your art. It's important. It's so important. You can have stuff that turns over, but if something took you hours or days or years to create, please bring some more value to it.
Yeah.
We're begging. We're begging.
No, I did the same thing with my own stuff. It's just like, yeah, sorry guys, you got to pay for this. I mean, it's my deals are still like, my pricing and deals are still better than the competition. You guys just want everything for free. I might sound like an old guy here, but I kind of
that's a very
blame,
valid take.
Yeah, I mean, like I do kind of blame TikTok for a lot of things, because TikTok for a lot of cosplayers and a lot of other people out there that blew up, and they kind of got egos, so they think because they're used to companies reaching out and giving them stuff, they don't have to pay for things. Like I had an actor who in Boston, he wanted to hire me to work with him and some famous TikToker from California. She had like 1 million followers, and I was just like, oh, okay. Well, what do you guys need? And they're like, well, we got this many outfits we need shot, some dresses, some suits. And I was like, all right, this is gonna be like a 9 to 10 hour day. I'm gonna have to charge
a day.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to charge at least $1,400. And he's like, oh, I don't think I have that kind of money. Neither does she. And I'm looking through her stuff, and I'm like, well, either she's one of those lying Instagram influencers and TikTok influencers, or you both just don't want to pay. And that's the thing. They were trying to use their level of like notoriety and who they were to get that. And I'm like, that's not how this works, pal.
That's not how it works.
Because he had the balls to offer me like $200, and I'm like, what?
God, no,
for like
no,
8 different changing of outfits? I don't think so, man.
No,
like,
no.
And everyone, and like, look, I mean, I've not taken jobs that I rightfully probably should have at times, but at the same time, I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna lowball myself anymore. I was doing that for like the first couple of years that I was doing photography, and I've been doing this for like over 10 now, and it's just like, no, I know what I'm worth.
Yep.
And that's what all artists have to understand. Like, you got to know your worth, which is like why it's sad when you hear that some artists won't charge, like when they put like their whole like life into these projects.
Mhm.
I always tell people, I was like, look, if you make art of like, like voice actors or any like cool stuff that they voice and everything, and or you make keychains and you want to send it to them, just send it
Yeah.
to them, because they'll send a shout out on their social media, and
Oh, yeah.
that's how you get known. People will see that and they're like, oh wow, if they got this and everything, yeah, maybe I'll do this too. And I've had friends who've made artwork for voice actors for Prince
That's
and things.
dope.
So it's literally just things that you got to do. I know
Yep.
it's scary, but
Yep.
no, no risk, no reward type deal.
True that, true that. Now, you have to take the risk that you can afford. That
Mm.
is always the the goal with it, because if you're relying on your art for rent or bills, you have to be sure that whatever, risk you're taking is doable for you,
Yeah.
because the reality is like, you could have done that shoot for $200 and maybe it would have been like a clout booster, but it's like, look, you got to put food on the table. And that day could have been so different if it were just, multiple gigs, even of the same amount, but less time.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's just valuing correctly and pricing correctly. And it's hard to find that kind of info out there, but it's so important to put value in what you do in your time.
It's true. It really is. And so I think like the next question, this is going to be a kind of a good one, because I don't ever really see anybody talk about this as much. But
Sure.
this one's about, like, what was your favorite video like that you made, like for like effects and performed, or if you don't have one, like what was one of your most disliked? What's like the challenge of shooting music videos like that people
Oh
don't
my
really know
God.
what goes into? Because you never really hear about that. You hear about the music creation of it, but the shooting of it is something different.
Well, I can tell you immediately my favorite video, because it's still my favorite video that I've ever shot, and that was my cover of Sanctuary from
Yes.
Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yeah.
That video is still one of my favorites that, um, again, my partner Peter and I have ever done. And he went wild with visual effects on that video. And the two of us directed it together. I love K-pop and J-pop. That's been like a very big center in my musical style for years. And so I wanted to direct the video with a lot of the style that I've seen in K-pop and Visual K and like the old J-rock videos that I love so much. And I am a pyromaniac, so I always like fire in my videos. And so like we spent an entire weekend shooting that video, and it was January and it was cold, and it was there's shots of like me at the beach, and it was maybe 50 degrees that day, I recall very vividly, and I'm standing there shivering, trying to just look emotional and be fine with the fact that I am dying of how cold it is, in very little layers. And like that video kind of came together. That's one of those like divine sort of things, because everything worked out. Like the visual effects that we decided to try, where I'm literally falling through the water like Roxas does and Sora
Yeah.
does in the beginning, that was we made like a little set of green screen, and we put the green screen over a piano bench. And so I'm laying on the piano bench on the very edge of the piano bench. So like here's where the bench ends. Here's my body. And so I'm like flailing and doing all this stuff over the end of it. And I've got my dad's industrial fan like blowing my hair, so it looked like that I'm actually falling.
Mm-hmm.
And we shot it at a crazy high frame rate. And which I later learned that was really bad for keying out stuff, because it was so many frames that Peter had to correct. So anyway, but it came out so cool, because he didn't say anything about it. I gave him like 2 weeks to put that shot together, and he sent it back to me, and he like composited some bubbles and some water kind of textures around me. He made it look like I was literally in the opening of Kingdom Hearts, and I couldn't believe it. And like that cover in general is so good. It just felt really right. But that video is still one of my favorites. And you could tell, I mean, every shot where you see my damn hair blowing in the wind and all that's my dad's fan again, just off camera. But that video is still so special to me. I still want to make something, and we have plans to, that's on that kind of level of production again. But as far as like some of the stuff you don't hear, so music videos are really challenging, just in the sense that you have to be on basically all the time. It's not like, oh, I can just play my instrument and it'll be entertaining to watch. That is not at all true.
Yeah.
Believe me. It's very, very challenging from my personal experience to play correctly and be engaging. And that's generally what makes you stay in a video or not. Is it believable? Is it something that is, you know, spectacular? Is it something that is impressive? Like, whatever your angle or your niche is as a musician, you have to be able to reflect that in the way that you perform and play. And I think the preparation that goes into a music video is a lot of rehearsal. It's a lot of knowing your parts inside and out. It's a lot of, especially for me, since I play all my parts, like having each instrument in my head, because I don't have notes, I don't have sheet music, I have to do it all memorization.
Yeah.
And that can be a lot of effort. And that's not for everybody, and that's totally cool. I know a lot of people read sheet music when they're recording, and that's totally fine. No tea to you. It's just the way I like to do things. Knowing your equipment is also a big hurdle that we had to overcome, because again, I started YouTube with just the front camera on my cell phone. And so like, you kind of have to see what you want from your visuals and videos and then what it takes to get there. And I'm so fortunate to have a partner who is incredibly knowledgeable, in the sense that if he doesn't know how to do something, he will by the end of the day. So we learned about lighting. We invested in lighting. We invested in LEDs. We invested in softboxes. Like, just the more that he and I experimented with how much lighting really changes everything. And I'm sure for photography, it's exactly the same.
Oh God. Good lighting will change everything.
Yeah. So we just got this beautiful aperture softbox that for me has made me look like how I see myself. And that has been just a very affirming thing as the subject on camera. And like, I have to look at myself a lot when I'm editing these videos and like shooting things down. So I need to be happy with how I look. You know, it's like, I have to be fine with it.
Yep.
From a technical standpoint, nothing was wrong with our videos prior, but like, this newer light that we got is so wonderful and just breathes life into me as a subject. So it's very nice. But we never would have known that if we hadn't, you know, followed Corridor Crew and followed like a lot of incredible creators who talk about it all the time. And like, investing in a camera is a big deal, and it's very expensive.
Oh
and
God,
you can go into a lot of debt.
Yes. Oh God,
it.
yes.
So yeah, so you have to be really smart. You have to be really, really smart. I'm very fortunate to say my camera is paid off now, but you know, very full transparency. Like, I have a Sony a7S III. We have 2 cinema lenses for it. Like, it's not a cheap camera. It was not a cheap investment. So like, we have that, and then we have an A7 IV as well as a B cam. So it's like, we invested. We definitely knew what we were getting into. We invested. It was a priority for both of us because I love cinematography. I love catching something in camera. So it's my problem, my fault. If I was fine with anything else, I could just rely in post, but I don't. I like it to look just right in camera.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was a priority for us. And I think you don't have to make a successful YouTube channel with a professional DSLR or pro grade anything. But if that's your expectation, you do need to know kind of what's involved in that. So I feel like doing the research, hearing what people do, and like seeing what works is definitely something that took me a while to figure out. But once we did, it immediately improved the quality, and I was a lot happier with the work that was coming out. But yeah, music videos can get really expensive, really, really expensive. So you have to be like prepared for that. And I'm hoping, you know, I mean, I'm starting to get better because even from the beginning, people were like, why don't you start a Patreon? Why don't you start a GoFundMe or like anything where the community can help you? And I'm like, no, because I want to do it myself. Damn it. And so now that I've gotten over my pride, I'm actually like open to help and suggestion and stuff like that. I've noticed that it's so much more of a community effort when I stop trying to do absolutely everything myself.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to share tips. Everyone wants to share what they know. And like that taught me so much about how other people do the same thing. And some people have way better systems. Some people automate their edits. I don't know how they do that. I still do it just in my Premiere file, but like a lot of people can just automate a project and it's done. It's amazing. It's so cool. Like people are so endlessly creative, and the more that we can share with each other, I think the easier it gets overall. But I think definitely something that no one talks about is the investment, the time and the money that goes into video.
Yeah.
It's not as simple as just you turn on a camera and you play. Someone on TikTok recently just learned that a lot of the time music videos are not recorded live. It's like a new thing, I guess, that TikTok just is learning for the first time. So music videos aren't recorded live unless it's a live recording. PSA, it's pre-recorded. That's just what it is. That's how it works. I'm sorry to ruin any illusions. I do play that good live. Come see me live, but it's definitely a very odd misconception. Because I've always known, like, you know, my best example is my friend Family Jewels. Like, he'll be on the beach playing something, and I'm like, people still think he's live. He's literally on the beach on a sand dune playing a guitar solo, and like they're like, wow, Jules, this sounds so good. How did you get it to the phone to like record? I'm just like, oh, y'all, come on. It's pre-recorded. It's pre-recorded. It's like, I don't know why that barrier is there, but it is. So if I can help
think
anyone,
some people need to get off the internet and experience life a little bit more. I don't know.
We gotta go touch grass, all right? You gotta make time to touch the grass every once in a while. It's very good for you.
I think some people just need to roll in the grass, and honestly, like I think it gets to that point where touching is not enough. They just need to roll around, man.
Consume
stains
grass.
And all.
Yeah,
like become a cow, eat the grass if you have to. I don't care. Just start learning.
Exactly. But yeah.
I know. Family Jewels, I followed his work for years too. Like he was originally from Boston too. I think I wanted to.
Yes, he's a Massachusetts guy. Yeah.
I wanted to work with him, but like he had already like by the time I discovered him, he was getting ready to. Oh no, sorry, no. I had followed him. By the time I was ready to contact him, he was already moving. I was like, crap. Well, yeah, there we go. Maybe some other time. Maybe when I'm out in California or whatever there. But
Jules is a wonderful human being. He and I are equal cursed little creatures, and I love him. He's a wonderful guy.
I remember one of the things I loved from him the best was his Mega Man X melody.
Oh yeah,
and he did this rendition of the password system from Mega Man X, and I'm like, this is fucking beautiful. I'm crying almost. Like no one covers this. I feel like this is great, dude. Like I was like so happy when I heard that.
Yep.
So yeah, I guess this is a good next question here. I was really excited to ask this one. You recently hit 10K subs a couple months ago, and you put on a concert yourself.
Yeah,
and
I did.
Like you got to talk about that, because going that long, because you were there for like 2 hours, and
2 hours.
That's a lot. Tell us how that went for you, like personally, like the feeling of leading up to it, and then actually doing it, and then the aftermath of it all.
It was awesome. I prepared a crazy long set list. I did remaster, if you will, some of my older things to try and bring them up just to like where my current live performance is. But it was a lot of fun. I've gotten very thankfully used to performing and performing a lot of my material at a time. Like if I'm streaming on Twitch, sometimes my music streams are like 3 hours long. And so it's fun to be able to bring that to my YouTube audience. And I can't believe how many people showed up. It honestly floored me. And so people were so nice. They had so many questions. And I spent, I think, the last half hour just answering questions and talking to people. And it was so fun because it did kind of have the spirit of what I do at my live shows, which is just I stand at the merch table. I'll talk with anybody. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, tell me what you're doing. How's your con? What's the day? You know, like what's going on? Because that's what it should be. We're all just people. We're all fans of games and stuff. So I have no ego in that sense. I'm like, oh, tell me, God, what's going on? What'd you think? How's your day? So I think it was so successful just in the way that it really felt like exactly what I try and do
Yeah.
in a personal setting. So like I was so proud of that. And we had so much fun because I bought that fog machine for my Luigi's Mansion video and then all of my stuff in Halloween. But Peter got the remote for it and he runs all of my tech live and he runs the cameras and everything.
Yeah.
And so like he just had the little remote and he was holding it and just like whenever I was in a pivotal moment, he would just like click it and it just became this inside joke between the two of us in the room. Because then suddenly I just had smoke everywhere and I was like, God damn it! You know, like, Jesus, trying to like find my hands and like play. But it was so awesome. So many people in that chat were there when I was covering pop music. They were there when Jump Up Superstar came out for me, and like there were so many people. I remember every username. I read every comment. I respond to every comment that I can. That's nice because mean people have no place in my community. Get out of here, mean people. But like I would say almost my entire audience base that is vocal at least is very, very kind. And so everyone was so nice and so excited and receptive, and it just made me so happy and like, yes, we did it, you know? Because 10K was a big milestone for me. That's something I've been striving for a long time. Because growth for me has been very slow. And I know that can discourage a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you see all these people with hundreds of thousands, millions of, you know, subscribers and members and like all this stuff where they're getting the numbers that you always want your work to get. And so it can be really disheartening when you put your heart and soul into something and really dedicate full time and you don't get that. And I don't think it's an accident that numbers really started changing for me when I did double down and I was making stuff that I really, really was proud of, stuff that I wanted to listen to. And I know everyone's weird about hearing their own voice and stuff, but especially I have to hear my own voice like hours a day.
Yeah.
So stuff I was fine listening to again. Like that's how I knew it was good. When I actually wanted to hear it again, I was like, okay, we're working on like a good personal frequency. Things are feeling really good, really natural for me. And the numbers reflected it. Like I was covering material at a less frequent time too. I was just doing 2 videos a month and people still showed up. People still brought engagement. People were so kind, sharing it on different forums and Reddit and Discord servers. Believe me, y'all, I see everything. It's awesome. It just felt so nice because that was better than any number. The fact that people have my back and I really felt like I was, you know, special. And I think that's what any of us ever want is like people cared what I made. People wanted my point of view. It was so humbling and so worth it. So worth all the trouble and time to share and like make all of this stuff. It made everything feel worth it to me. Because really, like, as I've been traveling and doing this and meeting people, it's all about the people. It's not about a number. It's not about a following or a fan base or anything like that. Like, it's all about meeting people who are as crazy about this shit as I am. Yeah, but it went very well. I am planning on doing a Patreon concert soon too, because we actually crossed the goal that I had initially, which I still can't believe we did within like a week of it being out.
Nice.
But we did. So I'll be doing a Patreon concert as well. So if anyone wants to get in on that, I'll be announcing that date probably soon. But yeah, you know, I mean, I love performing for people. My favorite thing in the world is playing for my friends. So the fact that, you know, I've been able to garner real friendships and uh, rivalries or whatever that are just thinly veiled friendships underneath. Like, it's the best. I love that I can like perform for people and they actually come and show up. It's so much fun. I love it.
That's good. That's amazing. So next question here is there any instrument you really want, one that you've had your eyes on, you haven't picked it up yet? Is there like a dream instrument or
several? My house is a guitar center. So as far as like an instrument I don't have yet, like one that I just have no variation of it, I want some Latin percussion. I love percussion. That was how I first learned drums. Was my teacher taught me percussion. So I was trained on djembe and bongo first, and then I went to drum kit. So it's like, it's so much fun to do that. And I still integrate percussion often. I currently have no space for any percussion in my home, so there isn't any here, but I would love one of those. I always want more guitars because they're pretty. I really want the white version of the keytar that I have, just so I can have both of them. There's a listing on Reverb that I've been which is a secondhand music instrument website that I've been stalking for months, which is the white version of my keytar, but it has the all black keys like mine does. So I really want that, but I'm not allowed to get that because I need to slow down. That being said, I do have a guitar coming in April that I pre-ordered a few months ago, but it's different. At least it's a nylon, because I don't currently have a nylon guitar, so I've been wanting one. So that's coming.
Nice. Yes. Nice. Yeah, I mean, like I'm kind of the same way with the statues and figures I collect. Like I don't really have room for them, I just kind of keep buying them. And I've got like stuff coming. I'm just like, I think I kind of need to slow down. Which, to be fair, I've slowed down a lot in recent years, so I totally understand all that.
Yeah, it gets out of hand really fast. And of course, the question from those around me who love me is always like, why? One, because they're pretty. Two, because usually I do have a function for them, and that makes everyone really mad because I do. I use everything in my life, in my studio. I don't have anything unnecessarily. My latest acquisition, the Ernie Ball Music Man Majesty, is my child. It does not leave the house. It stays here. But that was kind of a dream. That was my reward to myself for hitting 10,000 subscribers. I'd always wanted one. They're so pretty, and I managed to find one that's like one of 120 that was ever made.
Damn.
And it's just beautiful. The words can't describe how pretty it is. So I love that thing like it's my child.
Which number one is that? Like, do you know the number on it?
It's probably on the back of the headstock somewhere. It's signed by John Petrucci, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I keep the signature on the back plate, like in the guitar, so that way my body doesn't rub on it at all.
No, I remember like my buddy, he sold me an arcade stick that was signed by the famous Daigo from Street Fighter fame, and
hell yeah.
Yeah, but like the autograph started to fade on it. I'm like, dude, did you like actually use this on your lap when you were playing or something like that? Because the autograph's almost gone, and this is kind of bullshit that I paid this much and the autograph's gone. I mean, fine, like, I mean, I could go over the marker if I really wanted to, but like, I was just like,
the fact remains. Yeah, it's like, but yeah, it's very pretty. That's my baby. Like I said, it doesn't leave the house. The only time I might play it is for like a local gig, but it doesn't fly. One of my other children flies with me for that.
There you go.
But yes, I'm very fortunate to have such good tools in my life, in my studio. But yeah, I don't want to go down this path because I already don't have room for it, but like vintage synthesizers would be really cool.
Ooh.
But God. I just know how much space they take. I just know.
They're so big.
They're so big. They're wood. Yep. They're not easy. Nothing about a vintage synth is easy. So I'm like, in my head, but then I'm like, there's a lot of good sample libraries out there, and I can just load them into my little keyboard that I have right here, and it's just like having it
Yeah.
without the space.
Without the space killer, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but I'm a hoarder for sure. You can always count on me to find an instrument. My red Stratocaster I got in Japan when I was there in 2018 because I decided I was going to buy myself a Japanese Fender while I was there. And I found it, and it's in Fiesta Red, which is a discontinued color that Fender only just started remaking again. But I love that stupid guitar, and I could not resist buying it. It's a problem. It's a very big problem.
I mean, like, you were all the way in Japan, you picked it up,
I just had to bring it. It was waiting for me. It was like, please don't leave me. So it had to, at that point too, we were in Kyoto and we were going back to Tokyo. So like it had to travel on the Shinkansen with me. It had to go like on the subway. Like I was just there just being like, I had to buy the guitar, didn't I? Like we're traveling all over. This is a time.
I love it.
But I love that guitar.
All right, so like the next one, this is a good one I think about. So you do a lot of cover songs, but is there ever like a time like where you want to put out more original work than just covers, or is like covers really something that you love just as much, if not more, than doing original work?
No, I think a lot of times I do throw a lot of original ideas in the covers, within reason. Like I have actually had an urge to write some stuff lately, but it's not my first instinct, I would say. I think covers are nice because it's almost a chance to interact with the composer without interacting. Like I see the choices they make and I try and understand it and then see what I would do differently. And it becomes kind of an exchange, a conversation. And I find that really fun because it does help me understand what I like and what I don't like about scores or, things like that. But lately I have actually been writing a lot. I've been writing a lot of solos. I've been writing a lot of motifs that have been appearing in covers, whether y'all know it or not. I write stuff. Uh, but I'm getting a lot more comfortable with it. I never thought I was any good at writing. It wasn't until like I think a year or two ago when I was literally having so many people like wanting me to write a keys solo for something or write a guitar solo for something, and I was like, you want me to do that? Why? And they're like, because we like your style, we like how you think about it. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm trying to let go of my ideas that I'm no good at writing. I really like writing rap as well, which is interesting. I didn't know that about myself.
Nice.
Which is great because I've made so many friends with the nerdcore scene. Like everyone in nerdcore is so amazing. So that's been really fun and inspiring too. So I have ideas. We'll see if maybe some of them come out soon.
Yeah,
I don't
hopefully
know.
they come to fruition in the future. Like that's interesting.
Maybe they will.
Like I mean,
Maybe
even
they
like
will
the
very soon.
rap idea sounds interesting because like one of the guys on my team, he raps and like
Hell yeah.
it's like putting a quarter in a machine and he just takes off.
Insane. I
Like,
love it.
He was doing it like because we always do our yearly Toys for Tots thing, and he'll always like he created like the first. I think was it the first. I think it was like the first or second year we did it. He created like a rap specifically for that about I think it was like Resident Evil focused and such. And
awesome.
He just went to town and like he'll bust it out once in a while. He just like he doesn't get tripped up or tongue tied or anything. The guy's got it down to science.
That's so cool. I am not that way. I wish I freestyled. I'm not that way. But I do really like writing lyrics. Like in my cover of Iwa Todai Dorm from Persona 3 that I did, I wrote the entire second verse. And I was really, really proud of it because it's like I can still remember all of the lyrics too. But I was so inspired by the story of Persona 3 and how dark it is and like all of the unusual choices that you make in that game, and that inspired so many ideas for me creating a rap. Like I've heard so many people, I play a lot of shows with people in nerdcore, and like they're so talented at writing whole albums about Castlevania or Mega Man or Final Fantasy. Like these people are so creative, and I'm just like, God, I want to do that. It's so neat. I love it because like And I know everyone mainly writes about their experience anyway, but I especially identify it just as a fan of video games because it's like this is stories we know so well, characters we know so well. Why not give them a voice, or why not, um, talk about something that's in the game that's never really talked about, but you can express it in a song. It's like, oh, this is great. I love that. That's
Yeah,
so cool.
that's absolutely great. That's like one of the best things to
Yeah.
like experience, honestly.
Yeah. It's
Um,
dope.
so like this one's a really good one. You rock a lot of different hairstyles and colors over the years on your channel, and
Yes, I have.
you've been through a bunch of different ones. Like,
Oh.
what's been your favorite cut and color so far, or something that you want to try in the future that you haven't done yet? Because you've kind of done a lot.
I've done them all. Yeah, it's funny. I have a little student. She's 7 and she's obsessed with my hair. And so I actually saw her today and she saw my hair and she was like, "Oh my god!" So it was, I really do like this cut. I used to have like an undercut and kind of a long asymmetrical
Hmm.
bob for a long time. That was a lot of fun. I did like that one, but it was terrible to grow out, and so it was. I had a little bit of a disenchantment about it towards the end. But I really like this style. It's very manageable for me. I still have enough to move when I'm playing, and it's fun for me. I like short hair. I've had very long hair. I've had very short hair. It's just the short hair is fun. Um, but color. There was once, so one of my best friends does my hair, and I let her do whatever she wants. Because I trust her,
Yeah, I
and
was
she
gonna say
doesn't
that's some
trust
real
her.
trust.
Yeah, yeah, and I know she won't fuck it up, so I'm like, no, just have fun. Whatever inspires you, whatever color makes sense to you, let's do it. Um, and so there was a time, I think it was in, yes, it was. It was in August of last year because it was right before Mag West. I went in to get my hair done, and she did my hair in kind of like a platinum blonde, but it was almost silver, and
Mm,
it literally looked just like the Persona 4 protagonist, and
yep.
maybe that's why I was a little biased about it. But that color was still just like I loved it. I don't know what it was. Like it just really did something for me because it was almost purple, but it was almost silver. It just felt really cool and unique, very unlike anything I've ever had. Um, but once, many moons ago, I had lavender hair for my friend's wedding because the the colors of her wedding were lavender. And so she jokingly said, "What if you like dyed your hair lavender for my wedding?" And I went, "Bet, I'll do it." So I don't ever back down from a challenge, y'all. Everyone needs to know that. Um, so I did, and it was so beautiful, and that color just was so awesome, and it lasted one wash, RIP.
Ooh.
Because my hair is very dark. I have very, very dark brown hair naturally, which surprises a lot of people because my eyebrows are almost non-existent, but they're just like a very light brown, and I think that's why I pull off so many hair colors, just because my skin and my like hair color is like non-existent. So I just fly through all of the colors. But I like this one. We've been calling it Cheshire lately because it reminds us of like the Cheshire Cat.
Oh yeah,
But got a little purple, a little pink. It's fun. I like it.
it works. Like
It
like the
does.
way the
It's
colors
fun.
like come in and out and everything in like the
Yeah.
lighting, it almost looks like your hair is changing colors as you move.
I
I
mean,
mean,
it actually really does. Wow.
yeah. Yeah, no, I think
Yeah.
I think Tekken 7 had like a customization, like there was hair like that like changed like rainbow colors on the character, like they
Hell
just standing there
yeah.
and it just changes automatically.
That's awesome.
Tekken's friggin' like their stuff that they did in Tekken 7 for customization was crazy. Um, but yeah, I mean, yeah, we got one more question, and
Yeah.
so. Oh wait, hold on. Oh yeah, so like, are there any upcoming projects you like want to like talk about, or you want to try to keep things hushed for now, and you'll release to future dates or anything of this? Or actually, wait. Oh wait, no. That's nope. I skipped that. I skipped that. The other one. No, this one's actually this one's a good one.
Okay.
Yeah, you've talked about a lot like what you accomplished so far in like music and stuff like that, but like what's your like end goal, like what like some dreams you also want to accomplish, whether it be traveling, music, or in something else, like like there's what's not like the end game, but what's like one of the big goals in your life that you wish to achieve?
There's quite a few. I'm a very goal-driven person. And thankfully I am very good at accomplishing things that I set out to do. Um, but a lot of it really leads for me to do work in games. I want to be in a game. I want to be on a soundtrack. I want to be a voice actor, whatever it has to be. I love games so much and I love the medium so much. And it's crazy that I already have been making strides to do that. Evo literally was a dream come true for me. I cried in a brewery when I watched the Twitch stream, very openly. Um, and it's wild to me that what started as just a project to give myself to create videos to keep myself playing and recording and thinking about music more often than not has led to this. Games and game related media is literally basically 100% of what I do and consume on my free time and not. And I really just want to be able to do that, to be in a game. And I really don't care what it looks like because when it's the right fit, it will be. So that's one of my big goals. And I'd say that's probably the biggest one. I want to perform internationally. Of course, the dream would be to play in Japan. I would love to play video game music in Japan.
Oh, hell yeah.
Maybe I'm saying that right now. We're putting that out there. I'm going to play video game music in Japan. It just got to speak it out and somehow the world will do its thing.
Got to will it.
It will, I believe. So that's a big goal, but internationally on any level, would be really cool. I have been doing my damnedest to play all over the continental US, and this year is going to be pretty wild for that. Stay tuned. There's things I can't talk about yet that are going to be announced very soon. But I'm doing my damnedest to really connect with everybody out there and bring my passion for games and music and games everywhere. And I mean, ultimately, materialistically, I would love to reach 100,000 subs. I don't know if that ever will happen, but maybe that could be cool. I think ultimately I just want to be really proud of the work that I keep making and being able to have opportunity in which I can travel and play video game music and go to conventions and get paid to do it. And that's just awesome. I'm already somewhat living a life I didn't think was possible for myself, even just a couple of years ago. So I feel very fortunate in that way. So yeah, I want to push it and I want to keep expanding what's possible for me, for other women in VGM, because it's a very, very small percentage of the audience. So I want to see and inspire hopefully more women to write for games, to perform video game covers, to do shit that people think we can't do, because that's always the best feeling in the world.
Oh yeah. Like it's always great, like sticking it to like somebody like that says you can't do this or this isn't good, you know.
Yeah.
I remember.
Oh yeah.
I went to a trade school and I learned photography and advertising there. And this, I graduated in 2006, so this is at a time where video games and anime and like were not seen as what they are today.
Yeah.
I always wanted to do like photos of like the Resident Evil figures I had, the old Street Fighter figures I had, and whatever I was able to like get as a kid and stuff. And I kept for years. I wanted to do photography on those things and like do black and white, because black and white is my specialty. A lot of cosplayers don't want black and white for their stuff because they always want the vibrant colors, but I still throw some black and white shots in for people and they fall in love with them. But my teacher always said that video games and anime are not a form of art, and I'm just like, I beg to differ. And that lady, she, for the 4 years I had her as a teacher, I made her life a living hell.
Good for you.
Yeah, well,
good for you.
It's just like I laugh about it now because here I am, what was it, 16, 17 years out of high school, and I because of video games and anime, it's what I do for a living.
Yep.
Anything, and yep. I'm on YouTube with this channel and my channel with my team.
Yep.
It's and it's like, yeah, like I'm pretty sure we proved you wrong. I mean, I know it was a different time and everything, but she's supposed to be an art teacher and everything like that. The photography teacher, he was an old schooler, he was an older guy, but he was more willing to like let us do things because he liked the ideas that we had, even if she hated it and everything like that. Like he really like loved our ideas and how like he was discovering this new generation and like what we enjoyed and like, you know, what we're bringing to the table. And he nurtured that. He wanted us to succeed with that. She did not.
Yeah.
And she hated that.
Yeah, man. It's like there's just this innate desire, I think, to prove naysayers wrong, right?
Yep.
And I wish educators wouldn't do that. I definitely had my fair share of teachers put me down or say I wasn't good enough.
Yep.
Which was always a fun conversation. But I was like, you're not meaner than me. There's no way. Like, you can't outdo my imposter syndrome. No, thank you. But anyway, like, I think the more that we start to really value ourselves and what we do and how it makes us happy, like, that feeling is even better. It's just like, oh, wow, you thought that I was nothing and that you're the reason that I'm here today? Oh, really? That's funny. There's like 11,000 people that would disagree with you on that, but that's okay.
Yeah.
You keep thinking that, you know? It's fine.
Exactly. You've gone out there and you've proven people wrong. And I've done the same thing for me with my work and everything. So, and
that's right.
I think like one of the other things too, like it wasn't just like the fact that like I'm doing this for a living and like I was able to like tell that teacher off pretty much, but more so the fact that I had people coming to me saying that like my work that I did for them changed how they felt about themselves, because like they have like body dysmorphia and you know they weren't feeling how they felt from other photographers and they just loved the work that I did, and and like that's when it really hit me. I was like, shit, I just changed somebody's life. Like fuck, man, like that really hit me in a way I just wasn't expecting.
When the art becomes the literal saving grace for someone else, there's no way to put any sort of emotion on what that makes you feel. I've been there myself as well. Art can touch a lot of people, and I think any teacher or any role model or anyone who is a naysayer in that is not understanding the big picture. You always want to support whatever someone's vision is to help people, because it does help people.
Exactly. It really does. But I believe that is where we'll call it a night. We were actually like a little over 2 hours, almost 2 hours and 30 minutes with this, and that's really good. That's like I love these long podcasts and stuff. This was great.
Oh, good. Me too.
Yeah. So I appreciate you coming out, Lacey. I greatly appreciate you taking time out from your day to do this. And if you want to plug any of your socials, please feel free to go right ahead. They will be down in the links below too.
Yes. Well, the first thing I'll plug is my Patreon. Please, everyone, join my Patreon, patreon.com/Lacey Johnson Music. I just launched it. There's a lot of really cool stuff that you can get on there, including backing tracks, or you can vote in my Q&A, or like I said, I'm going to be having a concert on Patreon pretty soon. So you can join. You can join that. It's really neat. I share works in progress. I just did one today. There's a lot going on there, and going to be even more in the future. I'm pretty much at Lacey Johnson Music on everything. Follow my YouTube, youtube.com/Lacey Johnson Music. I make videos every other week. We'll see if that changes with Patreon as well. It may. I have things in the works. I have a lot planned for this year, so be sure you're following to see when and where all those things will be, because it's just too many things to list right now. But definitely don't be missing out.
All right. Sounds good. All right, everybody. Well, that being said, thank you all for listening. Greatly appreciate it. My name's One Big Boss, and I will see you all next time. Take care.
See ya.